All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for tuning in or listening to my audio book of 2021, Another Hell of a Year, written by yours truly, One Tusk. Basically, this book is the second part to a three-part series, the first one being 2020, A Hell of a Year. My new story, 2021, Another Hell of a Year, encapsulates this lousy pandemic. My non-fictional book rhetoric has gained many followers, fans, friends, and family too. This is my third self-published novel in an 18-month period. Thank you so much and enjoy. Before we get to it, I just got to read some certain things with the copyright. This book is copywritten 2021 by an independent author by One Tusk, yours truly. 2021, Another Hell of a Year, all rights reserved. No part of this publication may be reproduced, distributed, and or transmitted in any form by any means, including photocopying, recording, and other electronic or mechanical methods without the prior permission of the publisher, except in the case of brief quotations embodied in reviews and certain other non-commercial uses permitted by copyright law, independently published by Hole in the Head, all rights reserved. Okay, so basically I'm not going to be reading this. This is going to be my lovely gal Siri and the distinguished gentleman Sirio. Yeah, I know it sounds like I'm being kind of lackadaisical on this one. I previously read my other two novels, The Life of Donald Brickman, and then also 2020, A Hell of a Year. So, my voice box might be going bad, or I might be too tired, or I might just be too lazy, or I can't read anymore, or I'm going blind. No, I'm just joking. It's really a chore, and I know you're just looking at the words and saying them out loud, but it gets kind of monotonous, so I'm going to hand it over to them. But just to give you a brief story about this book, this is the second part, and this was like 2021 I wrote it. This was like sort of right in the middle of the bullshit going on. There was a huge divide, obviously, in our community, probably many communities. Like, one side of the sidewalk has Trump flags, the other side has Biden flags, and I just got kind of sick and tired of the divide. I know that's how it is, but this was an election year during a pandemic, which was crazy. I'm reading this now in 2023, and I think we've got some way more serious issues going on right now. A lot of it, we had two conflicts this year alone in 2023. It was the Ukraine conflict, and now the conflict in Israel, which that's been going on a real long time. As far as I can remember, I'm 40-something years old. Yeah, basically, I try to write in a comical sense in this book and make it less serious. Also, a lot of the stuff I mention is research stuff online. I try to go off the facts, the strict facts. But if disagree or you agree, cool. If not and you don't like it, I understand. Most of the research you did back in the day was going to the library and reading books on different subject matters. But this was mostly done online. So if there were certain numbers that were wrong during that time that you maybe looked up, hey, please let me know. I have no ill will, but this is based on all the research that I did at the time of the book and the pandemic. So there it is. Hope you enjoy, and again, thank you so much for reading or listening to my stuff. Have a good one. Bye.
It looks like I'm being sucked back into this. Honestly, I wanted this to be over. My plans were to focus my writing career on fictional novels. Unfortunately, the media, or COVID-19 pandemic, which is still going on, is forcing me to express my alternative ideas against the massive media hysteria. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. LOL, this whole rant is social media inspired. Especially by the cable news network, which is still reporting positive case results regarding COVID-19. The disease first surfaced in Wuhan, China, December of 2019, to the best of my knowledge, or around that time. Honestly, I wish it would be over by now, but it hasn't gone away yet, or will it ever? It's currently August 2nd, 2021, 8:35 a.m., as I write this. The media reports one week that case results are low, and then couple of weeks later they report it spreading just as bad as it did in early 2020. How long will this continue to go on? No one can tell for sure, but maybe, until there is a huge natural catastrophe, and CNN literally has to report news stories on it. The new narrative is the pandemic of the unvaccinated. I've written 2 books so far, The Life of Donald Brickman, and 2020, A Hell of a Year. Combined, 550 pages with 137,000 words, give or take. I'm currently working on a new book called The Garibaldi, a story about people stealing fish. It's a long story, lol. Right now, the news media narrative is pushing the vaccine by CNN, but Fox News calling it pro-choice. KY Senator Rand Paul, who did have COVID 2019 and was infected and tested positive for the antibodies, stated that he wouldn't be getting the vaccine due to his body's natural immunity. He was faced under intense criticism by Democratic and left-wing liberals, saying he was disregarding the science of COVID. Problem being is the science of COVID, it is still unknown, and if you develop antibodies, whether if you have a possibility of getting reinfected or not. Most likely my answer is no, you won't, or if you did it would be mild, because your body has sufficient antibodies to fight off the virus again. Similar to the vaccine, which does the same thing, they give you a shot, not containing COVID, mRNA, that somehow causes your body to develop the same immunities as an antibody would have. Problem is one side, left, wants to get everyone vaccinated, and the right is pro-choice. Liberals and conservatives will probably never agree upon anything, and will just disagree for the sake of doing so. Still and all, it will be interesting to find out if I don't get the vaccine, if the antibodies will do me any good, and if I do get reinfected with COVID-19. Delta variant, not that I'll spread it, everything is still 6 feet apart, technically, and still the same arguments in my last book regarding COVID exist, with this one. Do masks work, and does social distancing work? Is COVID deadly as swine flu or black plague? Did it come from a lab leak or in nature? Is China behind all of this, or was it an accident? My answers in this order: no, 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 yes, and no, it wasn't an accident. A natural virus does or doesn't mutate. Do we know if it's mutated into the Delta variant? Says who? My answers again, yes and no, a virus may or may not mutate. No, we don't know for sure. It's the common left-wing liberal narrative of CNN pushing the Delta variant using science as an excuse to explain why they are right and the rest of the world is wrong. Is this the future? Being locked inside our homes? Going on the internet, talking to friends through a camera phone or a laptop computer? Maybe or maybe not. Outdoor events seem to be becoming a thing of the past. Or at least by the left-wing agenda and the super scared of the super spreaders. Gosh, who would have thought a virus where hugging your grandma can be classified as attempted murder? I'm joking, well maybe not, isn't that how COVID spreads? But isn't all colds and flus similar to the molecular matter of structure of COVID? Yes and no. This virus is a novel virus, another colloquial term, if you ask me, describing a new virus, in which we don't have enough data to go off of yet. Except for so-called science that social media and news media stations print or air. Guess a good thing for me is, I got to rewatch a lot of old movies on stream, which I enjoy viewing. No more VHS, DVD, or Laserdisc, that was 10, 20, and 30 years ago. Haha. We have smart TV, or Roku stick, or if you still use cable, or you have on-demand. 4K, HD, etc. So I'll dive right into my social media narrative, which nowadays you can Google a lot of trivial fun facts about movies and actors. I rewatched all the Godfather movies, aka the goat of all classic gangster or mob genres. Here's my honest critique. And I'll relate this to the pandemic, not only because in quarantine all you have to do is watch movies, or play video games, or now with TikTok and Twitter or online Angry Birds or whatever else. Social media is a driving force now for the entertainment industry, the IMDb.com database and all that. The first Godfather is the most popular of all time. Without referencing IMDb.com stats just yet, before the internet and social media, it was regarded as one of the most popular gangster movies of all time, at least after all the old black and white movies of 30s, 40s, and 50s. The first Godfather, 1972, starred Marlon Brando. He's dead, one of the most notorious actors of all time. You can Google him. Al Pacino, he needs no introduction. Diane Keaton, Father of the Bride, Old One, James Caan, Misery, Bulletproof, LOL, and also my favorite character of the whole movie, Fredo the F** Cup Degenerate, who I feel is an underrated character of the film, played by the late, close friend of Al Pacino's, John Cazale. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola and based off of Mario Puzo's novel. The first scene is almost too much, it's a wedding, and goes on forever. If you notice, however, with all three, that is the basis storyline of the Corleone family, it always starts off, or at least in the beginning of the film, with a long scene of a public gathering. It's usually either at a wedding or an event, with either Don Corleone or Michael Corleone conducting business in his back office, while also attending to the affairs at the wedding as well. Could you imagine filming this during the coronavirus pandemic? Or even writing a fictional story? Half of the people at the Corleone's wedding would be wearing masks, and the front entrance would have temperature checks, hand sanitizer, and it would be set up at every booth, LOL. Back to the film, I like Fredo because he goes against the whole entire principle of the film and story. Everyone is so businesslike, and to be honest, when I first viewed it, with my family back in the day, LOL, it was boring to watch. No disrespect to movie fans, especially older generation fans. Watching the film now, it's different, I get it. You can put your mind on autopilot and focus only on the good parts or pertinent details. I'm sure, I can't really offer you any new insight regarding this classic flick, and Coppola was known for making exceptionally long films. In the sequel, there is a part where Fredo is shown as a baby, and the mother says Fredo has a pneumonia, which could be a foreshadowing or a flashback of why Fredo maybe was the screw-up of the family. He just isn't as smart in the business as Michael is, especially when he conspires or denies knowing Johnny Ola, who is played by Dominic Chianese, and is literally unrecognizable to his character Uncle Junior of The Sopranos, which I just figured out pays homage to the entire Godfather trilogy. I'll get to that. They go over this on the Talking Sopranos podcast, which was released during the pandemic, with two of the ex-starring actors on YouTube. Fredo literally denies ever meeting Johnny Ola, after they both conspire behind Michael's back to have him whacked, as some would call it. Michael finds out about it at the Coco Cabana nightclub or wherever they are in Cuba, when Fredo says, Johnny Ola told me about this place. This was after Fredo told Michael that he'd never even met Johnny Ola. It's so funny watching Uncle Junior play him. You literally can't tell it was him, in The Sopranos, who played Uncle Junior, Dominic Chianese. Maybe the nose and the voice, that's it. There are a lot of actors who later played in The Sopranos, especially the dude in the wheelchair in Godfather 3. He plays in the commendatory episode on The Sopranos. This brings me to Godfather 3, which most fans will say is the worst one. I honestly didn't think it was all that bad. Starring of course Al Pacino, Diane Keaton, except this time co-starring, who I think is great in his other movies later in his career, Andy Garcia, Ocean's 11, Black Rain, another old one. LOL, why did people hate Godfather 3 so much? Brings me to social media. According to IMDb.com, there were a lot of production issues with the third picture. In Hollywood, it's a cutthroat business, and a lot of actors wanted more money. The Paramount Pictures company wanted the film to be done too soon, and one of the biggest issues was, according to critics, with Sofia Coppola, who is Francis's daughter in the film, as she plays Michael Corleone's daughter. Performance was subpar. As a gangster movie aficionado, I disagree. Do fans give a rip about production, or filming, casting, stunts, key grip, vocal coaches, makeup artists, film permits, union cards, agents, auditions, and contract negotiations? Hell no. We fans only care about what we see in the finished product. Do I think the third film could be better? Yeah, but that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. I thought Sofia Coppola did a great job. She falls in love with Andy Garcia's character, her cousin, Vincent Mancini, which could be incest, but it's musical to say the least. I felt the third motion picture had all the premonitions of the others. Displaying the Corleone family business, along with the whacking of Joey Zasa, Joey, bang, bang. Za, S.A. And all the traditional Italian monologue, with the family going back to Sicily, strong depiction of the Roman Catholic Church, and everyone's favorite part, the murders or assassinations. The final climatic scene is actually at an opera, go figure. Talia Shire's character, Michael's sister, poisons Eli Wallach, Don Ottobello, with a toxic cannoli. She is watching him in the opera hall with mini binoculars. The part one find crazy is the two hitmen from Sicily who are hired by Wallach's character. One is disguised as an old priest, who is like a ninja super assassin, and his cohort, a strange long-haired fellow who does a great, yet extremely odd, donkey impersonation, which is later used as a distraction. It's a climactic scene with the two hitmen killing both of Michael Corleone's twin bodyguards, inside the theater, with a knife no doubt, as he readies his sniper rifle to set up a kill shot on Michael Corleone. The sniper, or assassino, is played by an actor from Italy, I'm assuming, Mario Donatone. His character name is simply Mosca. The twin actually almost gets the drop on the Mosca assassin, but counters in a later scene as the other twin investigates. Very clever move by Mosca. He poses dead like the twin had stabbed him. However, Mosca actually kills the twin by fooling him. It's a very clever scene that takes place in the dark hallway up top the mezzanine of the opera theater. It's somewhat comparable to the last of the Mohicans fight sequence, in an unorthodoxly point of view. The ending is very sad, and I don't want to give away an issue of spoiler alert. The basic premise of this film to me transcends the typical, badass, Italian gangster, beat up a guy for looking at you the wrong way, Goodfellas, type of flick. There's a lot of symbolic Italian culture, and like I said, if you watch The Sopranos, which is actually an older show also, I believe it was first filmed when I was still in high school, you can see all the cinematography connection. Italy is similar to Spain, culturally speaking. Spaniards speak Spanish, Italians speak Ital, and both are Latin language-based dialects. La means the in English, in both Spanish and Italian. Casa means both house in Spanish and Italian, and same with how and why, come. Maybe food dishes might be different, with Italian being vino, pasta, and bread with olive oil. Spanish food with rice and beans, or compared to today's Mexican food of ceviche, menudo, with corona cerveza, no pun intended. Relating to something bigger, the cartels and mafia, perhaps the two biggest crime organizations, not including the Russian mob, Irish mob, neo-Nazis, or Bloods and Crips or La-Im, American Me, J.D. Assassins are derived from ancient Rome, before that even with the Templars, in reference to one of my favorite video games of old, on Xbox 360, Assassin's Creed the first one. These killers are stealth, slick, and silent, killing an enemy, unknowingly and willingly, with strangulation, edge of a knife or a gun, in later editions. Also referencing other Italian secret societies, and the Illuminati actually founded according to Wiki by Adam Weishaupt 1748–1930, and also Freemason collectively, as secret societies that existed during the post-medieval era, and some claiming they still and undoubtedly do exist today.
I don't want to hold back on this, right? I felt my first edition 2020 a hell of a year. I tried to be non-biased as possible. This time I'm not going to do that. I make a lot of movie mentions, and if you like movies, great, chances are you will know what I'm talking about. If you don't watch movies at all, I'm sure you've heard of The Godfather, Scarface, and The Sopranos, hint it's not an opera singer. I love mob movies, everyone does have their own opinion. I hate those gangster movies, says Ned. Not my thing, he replies, and okay, I get that. Yet, is that the same as me saying? I hate COVID-19, it's not my thing, therefore I don't want to wear a mask, social distance, or get the vaccine. I mean, isn't that the same as one formulated opinion versus another? Yes and no. COVID-19 isn't a movie, or is it? It's all over social media, news media, radio, television, Facebook, newspaper, etc. So if I choose to watch it and like it, I get the vaccine, wear a mask, wash hands, and socially distance, right? Well, yes and no again. This is a public health crisis, a disease for some reason no one can get a handle on. It's not measles, chickenpox, herpes, HIV, polio, or even Spanish flu. It's a goddamn virus that still no one knows the origins, except it might have either come from a bat in the wild, that was butchered at Animal Wet Market in Wuhan, China, or it leaked from gain-of-function lab research or whatever the heck they want to call it, and was either accidental or intentional. Strangely yet, we still don't know. As I sit here and write this, it's more of an expression than a formulated opinion. Now with the Delta variant, sounds suspiciously like another colloquial term from the news media, invented to arouse fear and paranoia all over again. Part 2. Yet some people do get very sick. Strangely enough and coincidental, in Italy, was the first news footage on Sky News of an ICU or emergency room with sick patients infected with COVID. The sounds are horrific, as each Italian male, mostly older patients, from the reports and the camera, are gasping harshly for air. The Italian doctor claims it to be a bad pneumonia. This is before it was even called the coronavirus. Which certain flus disrupt breathing and so forth. Anyone else have trouble spelling that stupid word? Why the heck do they spell something with a silent P that starts with the syllable pronunciation and sound? No joke, I think my 6th grade and 7th grade spelling bee, I'd for sure fail now. Of course I'm an idiot, we all are at some point or another, and the human brain can only operate at about 10%, I'm guessing. This is after a night of adult beverages for some percent. Ha ha. Back to COVID, the only conclusion I can draw up is everyone has to do what they feel is safe. If you are prone to getting sick, older, diabetic, cancer patient, or HIV positive, you want to talk to your doctor, hence talk, or visit, and see what he or she has to say. Don't go on Facebook and ask your friend in a comment section. And answer me this, by doing that instead of going to your doctor, would you consider that moronic? I guess it is the idiot year era, not meaning you of course. We are inept so far with this virus, it seems to be 50% a threat, and 50% all on the internet and news media. Now I'm reading political messages such as unmask our kids and masks are not for children, meaning parents don't want their kids to have to mask up at school. Furthermore, a bunch of cones are set up, chain-linked fences, blocking exits, or diverting crowd control in public places to promote social distancing where large crowds would form. Closing of public restroom facilities to prevent the spread of COVID-19 and leaving only the line with your purchased items and cash register to deal with. You go out to restaurants and the bathrooms are supposedly closed due to COVID-19, or they just don't want to clean them anymore. Ha! Now you can go maskless inside a store and it's not mandatory to wear one anymore. I guess I'm happy, but then again I don't want to get sick if some asshole sneezes in line.
3. The new millennium, the time is now. Where do we go from here? Is this the apocalypse, now? I hope not. Or maybe hope so. If this is as bad as it could get, maybe we will live the rest of our lives in a utopian society. Climate change, you say, only in the state of California. Oh wait, what I meant to say was repeating Gavin Newsom. If you don't think there is climate change going on, just come to California. I think that's how the quote went, something along those lines. I believe climate change is global. Specifically, measured at both north and south poles by indications of ice thickness, salinization, and air temperature. How much warmer it gets year by year, in those longitudes and latitudes, versus how much ice melts into the ocean, causing the level to rise. How does this happen? Well, it's sort of a theory and sort of true, just follow science. Like how you do with COVID-19. The ocean impacts or has an effect on the natural weather pattern, considering what part of the globe we are talking about. Obviously, warmer and tropical, subtropical, to northern hemisphere, where climate and water gets colder. Although, what would happen in a significant level of sea rise? Tidal waves? Floods? Like the movie with Jake Gyllenhaal, Emmy Rossum, Dennis Quaid, and oh yeah, who was the Steve Urkel-looking dude with the glasses? The day after tomorrow, who knows, we could get there. Just look at the planet Earth picture. Well, it will be interesting to watch the first movie where people will be wearing mouth coverings in the background and as extras. Recently, the CDC and California Department of Health for I don't know maybe the 100th time changed its mandate, again. Now mouth coverings are required, again, even for unvaccinated people again, and at this point I doubt people have either little choices left to either ignore them completely or follow them completely. It's such a joke and it's not even funny. They, government, CDC, WHO, Department of Health, can't seem to get a grip on procedure and policy regarding COVID-19. Meanwhile, more fossil fuels are being burned at an alarming rate, so are we on the verge of extinction? When they say gets worse, do they mean the virus or the politics surrounding it? Even if you are vaccinated, you still have to wear a mask, so that pretty much sums it up for me. I'm sure even the people who wear a mask, wash hands, get the vaccine, follow all the rules are sick of the CDC and other health organizations and COVID-19. How long will it last? In January 2022 will be officially 2 years since the United States instituted these procedures, and a year after I started writing about 2020, which I honestly thought this would be over with by now. What will it mutate into next? Or so they say? My answer is the recall election coming up. I couldn't wait any longer to vote out these left-wing liberals, who are using a public health crisis as a scapegoat, to utilize and dictate as a political power play. Since the coronavirus surfaced in the USA, we've been through at least 3 or 4 serious governmental changes. Right now, it's dangerous how weak the USA could be. When I was a kid growing up, the USA was the strongest country in the world, not sure if I can say the same anymore. I never thought this would cripple our whole economy, schools, churches, jobs, and way of life. However, you can't blame it all on just this pandemic. Another thing I mentioned was global warming, and also fossil fuels. But our biggest downfall in the USA is petroleum use. We use gas combustible engines, and for what? Every working-class American can fill up their RV, ATVs, UTVs, boats, lifted V8 trucks, and go out to the desert, or visit Montana to go camping. Meanwhile, retail prices at the fuel pump are at $4.59 a gallon. Not sure how many euros that is? Hybrid and electric vehicles have been out for at least 10 years now, maybe longer. The first electric car was invented a long time ago, yet we are still using oil. Why? Why don't they mass produce and mainstream line electric everything, solar, fuel efficient, whatever? Answer: same reason they don't legalize drugs. Price. The greedy ass oil corporations need us to pay that. Christ, I spent $3,000 on fuel alone last year. Supply and demand, keep the demand high and the supply low, and these oil companies make up to 350% profits. That's including labor costs, taxes, and any and all business costs. That's why you see these rich Arab princes and kings living in Saudi Arabia, in super palaces, which, according to my father, and I believe him, it's true, these sheiks, or whoever, drive a brand new car, and if they don't like it, or within a week it breaks down, they leave it in the desert and let it melt. Screw Donald Trump, I need to meet one of these Arab princes. Yo, what up, Prince Ali Habib? I need someone to sponsor my book publishing company. I need a grant for like $500,000 to get me going. Think you can handle that? I ask him as we are out in the desert dunes, and his falcons fly away and return to land on my arm in 115-degree heat. I'm kidding, by the way. Nothing has ever looked hotter than the Middle East. I've never been there. Maybe places in California, Arizona, and Nevada can rival the scorching climate, but I've heard the Middle East can get up to 130 degrees. That's pretty damn hot. U.S. troops train in 29 Palms, California, where it is also boiling, to pre-adjust to the climate if they are deployed to the Middle East. The Middle East appears to have an even more sweltering climate than Arizona. There's dirt and sand in Arizona too, and cacti, Although not as much compared to the Middle East, especially if there is a sandstorm, in parts of Africa also, where huge sand dunes are spread across the Sahara. However, the highest temperature ever recorded, according to Google, and if you check the library books, is 134 degrees, Furnace Creek, Death Valley, California, perhaps very close to the Las Vegas, Nevada border. In 2013, WMO officially decertified the official all-time hottest temperature in world history, a 136.4 degrees Fahrenheit, 58.0 degrees Celsius, reading from El Azizia, Libya, in 1923. Bert was a member of the WMO team that made the determination. Google.com, that's hot. I kind of laughed when I heard Governor Gavin Newsom's statements on climate change. California probably has a real diverse climate anywhere in the world, hot, cold, rain, snow, and different geography as well, mountains, beach, valleys, deserts, cities, rural, we have it all. Mexico is more tropical climate, some areas are warmer, the more south you travel, in the 75 to 85 degree range. San Diego, which can get hot, by the beach it stays about that, San Diego, as I call it. Regions of Mexico do get hot, right below Texas, maybe Iran or Iraq gets pretty damn hot. I've heard the ocean water is 90 degrees in the Persian Gulf, doubt there's any sea life abundant in that area. Also, I forgot to mention Australia. Shoot, even New York City or Chicago can get hot. I've mentioned global warming, if you don't believe it just go outside, haha. Or like Gavin Newsom said again. If you don't believe in climate change, just come to California, haha. While he was addressing an interview reporter in the forest, while trees shown in the background have burnt down due to wildfires. Which leads me back to gasoline and all the exhaust fumes we spew into the air, driving and using all of our gas combustible engines. You don't think that takes a toll on the Earth's atmosphere? Do you even care? Most likely not. We Americans only care about our checkbook. Screw that, gas prices should be lower, we shouldn't have to pay those high prices, it's because of this, and that, I've heard Harry the Hothead say at parties when the subject of fuel prices comes up. No one favors electric automobiles or flying automobiles, lol. We're going to use and squander every single last drop of oil in the entire earth, till it's all gone. Oil is the black gold, the Texas tea. No way would companies ever substitute electrical automobiles, or hydrogen, for gas combustible engines. Romance, dating, chauvinism, feminism. I got a little off topic and now let me switch it up to mostly everyone's favorite topic. First with feminism. I love this topic. Feminine refers to female gender, hence, women, girls, ladies, etc., the gender so to speak. Nowadays, we have 4 genders, which might sound gross to some, but not all. Transgender formation from male to female, from female to male. Anyhow, feminism in short, is equal rights. A very juicy topic. Men and women might agree and disagree with this topic. I'll go first. To me, feminism strictly means that, equal rights. Meaning we are humans, yes, women can vote, work, just the same things a man can do in the USA at the very least. We've come a long way, however. Is feminism misconstrued by men and women? Do women feel it's a way to get even with men they hate or have been screwed over in the past? Do men feel feminism is an excuse to hate men? And make them do more of the cooking in a marriage or household cleaning chores? If the wife complains, is she a feminist? I've read several different articles by various authors. Can't name any off the top of my head, and they are just articles. Online, basically there are 2 points of views, male and female. Females, or some, or most, or a few, feel that in the USA or in society, women are objectified by men for their bodies, and that women are stereotyped for sex and making or giving birth to babies. While yes, it's true, men carry the seed, women make the baby from the man's seed, then she creates the child, gives birth, and boy or girl pops out 9 months later. So what the hell does that have to do with feminism? Men can't give birth, how is that equal rights? That's one right, I'll be glad I don't have. LOL, ha ha ha. So with it you have gender roles. Men are supposed to take out the trash, fix the car, lift and carry heaving things, for the females, open the doors, etc. However, in this new millennial society, the old rules don't seem to apply. It's because people are more independent now. More females have jobs, which pay well, and are single, happy, and don't need a man in their life. Well, that's great. Some men are single, unmarried, have no kids, but is that so great for a man? Not really. Men need women more than women need men, I guess. You might think I'm referring to sex, and yes, that is partly true, but women are the mothers and nurturers of society. We are raised by our mothers, and oh, was such a cute little boy in her arms as she breastfeeds her only son, but just wait until her kid grows up. That's right, mother's cute little Johnny is now 18, he's lifting weights, belching, farting and laughing at the table, driving a fast car, getting into fights, and he's chasing down all the females. Hooting and hollering with his boys. Now does this represent the chauvinistic, sexist, stereotypical attitude, which feminists are fighting against? To be a woman, have a boy as son, only for him to grow up to be a male macho chauvinistic pig, which most men truly are, LOL. You know why men get married, women? Sorry dudes, I'm going to have to snitch. Men marry women to procreate, and also, make it illegal for her to have sex with another man, which I'm quoting from Quora.com. Basically, to most men, a woman is not his soul mate, partner, or spouse, it's his wife, his mother of his children, his love. Yes, he does love her, but he basically wants her to undress every night. Tell us something we don't know, you say? I'm going to try to tone this down. You've read some of my other books with cussing and graphic sex. I want some younger readers to hear this. Men only want to see her body. Yes, it's important about her mind, how she acts, her sense of humor, her education, that's all good, but that doesn't come before looks. And why not? Women are beautiful of all different shapes, sizes, or colors. God made you females physically beautiful, not us men, for the most part. Boys will be boys. So, isn't this a huge contradiction to the fact that feminism states equal rights? Men can't give birth, can't marry for money, most can't divorce his wife and get full custody? See where I'm going? You want equal rights, but men and women will never be 100% equal, because well, like the movie Kindergarten Cop, boys have. Girls have. That's good you taught em
The algorithm. I'd like to speak to you folk about the term algorithm, not the computer definition in which a programmer who works for Microsoft engineers for software functions, in which you install on your hard drive. I'm talking about the planet Earth, human race, life in itself, an algorithm. An algorithm is the exact definition Wikipedia. Here goes. Al_go_rhythm. /all_rhythm/. Learn to pronounce. Noun, algorithm, plural noun, algorithms. A process or set of rules to be followed in calculations or other problem-solving operations, especially by a computer. A basic algorithm for division. Late 17th century, denoting the Arabic or decimal notation of numbers. Variant, influenced by Greek arithmos number, of Middle English algorism, via Old French from medieval Latin algorithmus. The Arabic source, Al-Khwarizmi, the man of Khwarazm, now Khiva, was a name given to the 9th century mathematician Abu Jafar Muhammad ibn Musa, author of widely translated works on algebra and arithmetic. See No One Knows Why Romance Happens, the way it does, or in a fictional sense, if you're into tear-jerker flicks, which I'm assuming you male readers aren't. Haha, When Harry Met Sally. You've got mail. The Ugly Truth. The Longest Ride. Even the scene from the movie Castaway. No one knew that Tom Hanks' wife, played by Helen Hunt, would marry his dentist while he was stranded on a desert island. She thought he was dead. Touching scene. The garage when it's raining. They say goodbye to each other. She stops him when he drives away, and they get out and hug. LOL. No driver expects the other person operating the automobile in front of them would come to a sudden stop on the expressway. The dude at the bar didn't know he was going home with that particular broad on that Friday night. Nor did the arresting officer know the suspect before he arrested him that night for potential date rape. Lol joke. See where I'm going? The algorithm? The maker, the matrix. We are all programmed. Somehow, some way. Things happen that are unexpected. Actually, it's an illusion that those fighters are two separate entities. They both share the same quantum field. The shapes are illusions that we only in fact see in our mind. Priceless quote from my one favorite shows, Hal Holbrook, R.I.P., or of course Jurassic Park. No, I'm not quoting Newman's. You didn't say the magic word. I mean Jeff Goldblum's character, the scientist, life finds a way, is all I'm saying. See? No one expected Dr. Grant to get out of the moving vehicle, or Ellie, and here I am by myself, talking to myself. Lol. We are all a mathematical equation. That's it. Some people get married and have 1,000 kids on their first night. Some women are super attractive, remain single their whole lives and bear no children. Some men are creeps and bad people and end up with a woman who won't leave him. Men are dogs, women are cats. Some men remain single who are talented and skilled at arts, but simply don't get any recognition. Some men are considered hunks by females, and father no children whatsoever. Some dude who might weigh 400 pounds marries a Cindy Crawford look-alike. Unlikely. You see where I'm going? It's all an algorithm. People meet people when it relates to romance especially. The right moment and you might find your long-lost love, and your life will be complete. One moment too soon or too late, you might miss her forever or him forever. I'm trying to be non-biased for all my readers. We're all human. Do you really think we have total control of our destiny? Well, I sure don't, otherwise I'd be a multimillionaire, recording artist, who starts a Grammy Award winner record company, who also produces films, and fathered 10 kids with some exotic supermodel, and never have to work for the rest of my life again. Instead I get offered paying gig with construction, automotive, electrical, painting, any type of hard labor jobs etc. I guess I resemble a strong Slovak dude who can swing an axe, wrench on a car, and build a wall. Honestly, one time at a gas station, a person came up and asked me if I could change their oil. I guess I look like a gearhead grease monkey, who wrenches on cars. Truth be told, it's not my bag. My pops is. That's the algorithm. I'm an artist, a writer, a musician. Who knew? That's just what the maker designed within this algorithm. Everyone has their own algorithm. You just happen to be turning left, when the other idiot driver decides to run the red light at the intersection. Crash. It's the way life is. We don't know when our number's up. Because that's all we are, a number, born in 1980, 41 years old, male, 5'9", 215 pounds, 20 years playing music, 19 years work experience, 100%, bueno. Lol. Another example, just like the amount of alcohol we drink, who knew after Gary drank a bull shot, he'd punch Joey right in the face at the bar.
I guess I'll cover a variety of topics in this chapter. This is part 2 of the events that transpired in the year 2020, which was a hell of a year. However, things have calmed down a little bit. We are now seeing more fans in stands at sporting events. Keep in mind the UFC was the only organization to have fans during the pandemic, in a non-socially distanced atmosphere. It also took place in Florida, sure as hell not in California, with its current governor. Which brings me to the recall election. Gavin Newsom, under intense scrutiny and criticism, and rightfully so, is publicly blaming ex-President Donald Trump voters for the recall. What does this have to do with fans? Well, if Gavin Knucklehead Newsom wasn't in office, we might have been able to allow more fans into stadiums during the pandemic. The brand new SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, CEA, was closed for fans during the coronavirus, also known as media virus, or China flu, scamdemic or plandemic in 2020. SoFi did open, and the first regular season NFL game with fans was the LA Rams with a victory over the Chicago Bears. How many old people, AIDS patients, diabetics, and other people with immunodeficiency attend public gatherings? Oh, so it was for my own safety, right? A young male like myself, healthy. But maybe I'm overweight, so if I got COVID, I'd end up in the hospital. Well, my choice, CDC, Fauci, WHO, Department of Health. I think there's a chickenpox epidemic. Why don't I just close down the CDC, WHO, and Fauci? That's where cases are spreading. Says the Donald Duck supporter. Maybe that's why Gavin Newsom is facing a recall. He just doesn't get it. People want their freedom. If you follow the recall or not, I'm not going to display a biased rant. You and you alone have to make a decision on who you vote for. Your vote counts. Larry Elder, recall candidate, lost in a landslide. Screw some Newsom, got to keep his job. I'll tell you one company that sure didn't suffer during the pandemic, and I bring this up in part 1, is a company that used to be an online bookstore, none other than Amazon. Amazon currently ranks number 1 for online retail, also on a non-social media platform. They make electronics, such as TV Fire Sticks, speakers, Alexa Bluetooth-enabled microphones, etc. The CEO of the company, what's his name, is now the richest man in the world. Amazon is also the number 1 employer in the world. Didn't the owner call his workers lazy? Haha. Once upon a time, or not long ago, yours truly worked for one of these so-called warehouses, maybe or maybe not, I can't remember. Huge warehouses with 100 feet of employees, okay, pay and benefits, fast-paced, short breaks, and long walks. You better buy a pair of Nikes or running shoes, that solid 500 square foot concrete floor that you have to walk around on all day long. Make sure you go to the bathroom before you start your shift. Otherwise, you have to walk all the way back, about half a mile, which I calculated. Hey, wait, don't they time you? Won't you get into trouble if you do that? Asks Leisure Larry. Well, yes, Larry, they do time you on your work, but no, you can't get fired for having to use the restroom, ha ha ha. Some of the rumors are true, and some are false of how they treat their employees. The shifts are also long, especially during peak hours. The crazy concept is that with a lot of Americans working at Amazon, not only are they funding the company, they are ordering products from them as well. So if everyone stopped ordering from Amazon, then there would be no jobs from Amazon. Haha, ironic. We the consumer create jobs for ourselves. Also, as I mentioned, feminism as it relates to politics, which is a good thing. A lot of women work at Amazon. I was co-workers with some good employees. Also, I guess if you're a single dude, there are a lot of single women that work there also. But I don't crap where I eat. In PG terms, made some friends with males and females there. And yes, it's a younger college crowd. Yet there are some middle-aged persons too. It's probably the easiest job in the world. I mean, you're moving boxes all day long, that's it. What was your job there, One Tusk? Asks Nosy Ned. Sorry, Ned, I forgot, lol. Like for the recall election when you ask me. Who did I vote for? Well, I voted for the other guy. Not the guy who gained profit from a mass company overseas or shut down public schools while his kids were in private either. Back to Amazon, if you do work there and can endure the pressure, you might be able to meet someone in attendance if you can manage dating while joining up as colleagues too. Which maybe isn't the best idea, but hey, everyone needs to get laid, right? Sex sells. There were lots of high school cliques at the company, similar to my book, The Life of Donald Brickman. Or if dating a coworker doesn't work out, if you are a male and she doesn't like you and you over-pursue it, you can get charged with sexual harassment. Haha, no joke. Or you can try online dating sites and pay a hefty fee to message someone like 3 times for 3 minutes and the next minute ghost them for whatever random reason because you're not interested. Or you can always visit a massage parlor. They might give you some action, which brings me to my next point. I've also mentioned legalizing drugs in previous novels. What about prostitution? Men and women need to get laid, right? What's so bad about that in a regulated industry? Keeps workers safe, off the streets, and less likely for the female workers to get murdered by Ted Bundy? Who knows? Maybe the world would be a better place if drugs and prostitution, and I keep bringing up The Wire on HBO, but remember Major Bunny Colvin decides to let drugs be legal in certain zones? And why the hell not? I mean, we spend literally all these tax dollars for police to arrest people for using drugs when they should be locking up violent offenders. The true sick people, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, the Golden State Killer, that's how screwed up the United States law is. A dude can get arrested for receiving oral sex from a paid prostitute in an alley or using crack cocaine or heroin, yet a dude can go out and rape and kill like 15 women plus little kids, and he gets off scot-free. Instead, the police pull me over for a broken taillight. They should be out arresting drug dealers or murderers. Although there was a case of a serial killer caught in Riverside, CA, William Suff, by a cop who did pull him over for a broken taillight. I'm just saying, the law is way out of whack in general. You can go to jail for this and not this. If I catch a serial killer, I should legally be allowed to kill him. Save a lot of time and tax dollars. For a non-conviction, the court of law, while Judge Ito dismisses pertinent evidence, because the defense lawyer claims the glove doesn't fit the killer's hand. Again, I reference The Wire. Marlo Stanfield, who kills like 23 people who are involved in the drug trade. The city takes away the funding for the police to investigate these crimes. That's when detectives MC Nolte and Lester Freeman, he's badass, decide to manufacture a fake serial killer to finance their case. I know this is in the fictional sense. Point being, that's how disproportionate laws and politics are. They need to make some laws more lenient and some laws more punishable. Like I said, rapists should be subject to surgical castration. If I was a female, I'd feel a lot safer if the law instated male castration for rapists rather than taking a self-defense class. It's hard to feel empathy for these mental rejects that do heinous acts and to display sympathy for people who choose to be with these sickos in the first place. That's what these serial killers and rapists do. They prey on weak people. So if one of these sickos attack me, I have the right to defend myself, lethally if need be. However, this is how twisted the law is. If you attack someone or fight back, you yourself can end up in jail. Or if someone attacks your family, you can't hurt that person because you yourself can end up incarcerated unless you can afford a decent attorney. And if these assholes do get the death penalty, it takes them years and years to get executed. Oh, I don't believe in the death penalty, says Larry the liberal. Well, answer me this, will you believe in it? If two criminals plan and execute a home invasion, hit you over the head with a baseball bat, rape your wife and two daughters, then burn them alive while they are tied, look up the Cheshire, Connecticut murders. If you yourself disagree with the death penalty, you need to have your head examined, which yes is biased. That's what pisses me off about feminists and liberals. The exact men they are complaining about, and who the problem is. Contrarily, feminists don't support the death penalty. What makes it okay? You have to look at it like a rabid dog. There's a point of no return when somebody kills a little kid or rapes a woman. They are sick in the head, so they need to die and burn in hell straight up. We need to put them to death quickly. Do you think lethal injection is inhumane? How about strangling or torturing or burning someone alive? They've hanged people for a lot less in the old Western days. And honestly, we're no better off. I think, in fact, there's probably more law and order back then than there is now. All these politicians screw everything up. Nothing is set in stone, and they can change anything to their own liking. It's funny when people argue about the law, they always say, no, the police can't do that. No, the law can't do that. It's like bull crap. What world do you think we live in? Of course, they can overturn the death penalty. Of course, they could give you the death penalty. They could do whatever the heck they dang well please. They are the government. You know, they've journalists, media, etc. interviewed a lot of rapists, killers, child molesters, and the common question is, why'd you do it? Which asking, why about anything is the least informative question on planet Earth. Why'd you do it? Because I can. You can do just as much time for selling drugs inside the can than murdering someone. That's why these killers do it, because they can easily get away with it. And if they get caught, they face life in prison, not execution. It's the law. Yet most of their victims are innocent, young kids, women, etc. Not sure if I'd let it slide. And yeah, I might do time. But if someone hurt my family, to me, the law becomes null and void. Look at that nutjob Samuel Little. He killed I don't know how many women by strangulation. Yes, a large percentage prostitutes. And the law let him go how many times? He has a rap sheet record longer than Snoop Dogg. At the same time, a dude in the USA can do 20 years for marijuana possession. In some states, meanwhile, a serial killer gets let go. And that's how disproportionate our justice system works. If you are a feminist, maybe you should steer your direction at law enforcement instead of trying to protect these killers' rights and abolishing the death penalty. Most of the victims are female, and I don't mean to criticize feminism again, but I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. It's a styrofoam cup that I can poke holes in. Or perhaps look at Harvey Weinstein or ex-Governor Andrew Cuomo. LOL joke. And of course, I don't mean to discredit law enforcement entirely. I mean, they do catch these criminals and work hard. However, not last year, the police murdered two innocent people, George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, two African-American persons who were in the wrong place in the wrong time. It does disgust me, but I can't dwell on the negative, nor change things that are problematic with society, but I sure as hell can write about it. Haha. I guess if you felt they both deserved it, you're a racist or Republican. Just kidding. It's all political BS. We need people in office who can get things done, not talk about it. Yes, the death penalty should be used in some cases, but not in all. I mean, yet, what about if you lose a family member to a murderer, whatever the crime is, crime of passion or premeditated? It's a controversial topic. Like the movie with Sandra Bullock and Matthew McConaughey, she opposed the death penalty. She is a feminist and is sympathetic to the killer's rights. Seem like feminists targets hard-working men who provide for their family and comes home to the nagging wife for him leaving the toilet seat up. LOL. Jake Brigham says, we should resort back to hanging murders on the White House lawn, or so to speak. My point here is, it's a discouragement. If killers would face death immediately, and they wouldn't kill as many victims, theoretically. Like if we legalize and regulate drugs, it might take away some of the violence and crime involving illegal drug use. Google OJP.gov, there's a great article of why heroin and cocaine should be decriminalized by J. Ostrowski, published in 1987. He states that it won't solve everything, but they could offer more treatment to addicts versus arresting drug users, also taking away the street crime aspect and legally selling it in certain designated zones. Marijuana is legal in the state of California, not federally. It's legal to buy at dispensaries, and you can smoke marijuana inside your home. It's not sold around children or near schools. Same with alcohol and tobacco, they have zoning areas for certain sales and businesses. I agree with legalization and also self-defense. The self-defense law is a joke, only if you are in imminent danger. Well, if someone is threatening me, my family, sorry, Joe Law, that person will be dealt with. I'm not going to wait till they break into my house, and then I have the right to self-defense. As soon as they enter the property I'm defending, and if need be according to a corrupt cop, drag the killer's body into your house. I actually heard that said before from law enforcement. That's why the law is so screwed up you can't even defend yourself legally, and the killer has more rights than you do. And I feel it's corrupt politicians who are to blame. Like the current one who lets how many prisoners free from jail, and your vote is your vote. Like I said, we just have to be careful, especially in California, of who we vote for from now on. You want a guy who will use the death penalty in certain cases? Also speed up the damned process. These killers wait 16 years on death row. Meanwhile, we are feeding and clothing, bed and rest, all courtesy of our hard-earned tax-paid dollars. These inmates. I believe the case with Connecticut in 2008, I recollect. With the victim's surviving father, he was a doctor. They reinstated the death penalty in that particular case because it was so heinous. Look up the Cheshire, Connecticut home invasion murders. The Connecticut Supreme Court later sentenced Stephen Hayes to 6 life sentences instead of giving him the death penalty. Typical governmental bull, in which they can't stick to their guns, and why we shouldn't vote for certain politicians, including Gavin Newsom, progressive Democrats, who not only opposes the death penalty, he actually wanted to release prisoners from jail. Not sure how they, progressive Democrats, claim the death penalty isn't a deterrent. A baseless claim, as I've mentioned before. Most criminals would rather keep their life in prison than be put to death. According to documented interviews with murderers, I'll mention Texas, lethal injection, which is costly and is humane, is much better than having your head cut off. But wait, didn't these murderers do that to their victims to begin with? What we should all feel sad for the victims and pray, and yet do nothing about it to the killers. It's plain as day. Anyone with half a brain can realize most of these highly elected officials, judges, governors, Congress, whoever, put forth their own agenda and boast their own ambitions way before the public's needs. Who they're sworn to serve in the first place. It's like, what about the casualties, the 2 daughters? We should obey the rights of killers instead of the victims. Victims have rights too. It's so unjust. Well, I guess the Cheshire murders in Connecticut, 2007, really struck a chord. It was all over television on Nancy Grace, etc. I think the original decision to give them the death penalty should be the standard, even if they did abolish it after they're already sentenced to death. The good doctor actually later spoke out about it. This was a special case circumstance where these 2 horrific people planned this home invasion. No one made them commit those murders. The 2 robbers did it themselves. They tied up his daughters and burned them alive. They had a track record for breaking and entering before they were convicted for murder. Who knows, maybe it'll work in the good doctor's favor, and there will be a Republican judge or someone else who will overturn these Democratic decisions, and maybe those 2 assholes will get lethal injection. And I hope so. I have a sister, I have a mother, and I have women in my family. If any one of them were killed by homicide, I would want justice. And I couldn't guarantee that I wouldn't take the matters into my own hands. These slayers usually get isolation anyways inside lockup, specifically so other inmates can't get to them. Although we all saw what happened to Jeffrey Dahmer, I think it's good. I feel no pain or remorse for an executioner who's putting people to death versus a young boy or a girl who is raped and tortured by them. I guess you can call me a vigilante of some sort, although I'm just a writer. It would make a good movie, a killer who kills serial killers. Dexter. And I am joking, by the way. Sounds kind of Quentin Tarantino likes. If you watched Inglourious Bastards, they're killing Nazis, right? The Nazis did heinous things. They burned and gassed Jewish people alive. So how are these serial killers any different? They should be put to death. Bottom line, I strongly feel that, fictional sense, the death penalty should exist for criminals who carry out extremely despicable acts on women and young children. Is it ironic that a lot of feminists are opposed to it? I'm not the victim here. Y'all are. Because guess what, you activists who are female are the exact target of these homicidal maniacs? And when convicted, you don't want them to be put to death. Do you want them to live a life in prison? Does that bring the victims out of their graves? Will that prevent the pain and suffering that they've endured? Whether you answered yes or no, I strongly urge, if you do oppose the death penalty, to read up on a lot of these serial cases, as I have. A lot of these laws are mishandled, as I've said before, I have to admit. two killers. Actually, they were just planning a home invasion. They end up brutally raping, burning alive, and murdering a man's two daughters and wife. They were found guilty and also sentenced to death. Then, in 2015, Connecticut state legislator, mostly Democrats, overturned the decision somehow through the Supreme Court. Like I said, the law is much disorganized. I'd hate to be a lawyer, that's why they go to law school for years on end to pass the bar exam. It's almost a joke at times. In the state of Texas, a dude entered a liquor store, supposedly robs and kills a clerk. The guy gets blamed for it, was put to death in 2020. That's why you don't hear of many serial killings in Texas. They fully enforce capital punishment. Well, at least that's my theory. Again, I feel that the law and justice system is extremely disproportionate. Do I support the death penalty? Absolutely yes, especially for the Good Doctor's case and other cases. Look at the Golden State Killer, he got life with no parole. Did you know that a lot of these killers live a life of luxury inside prison? Sounds crazy? To one who doesn't know, they get food, rest, boardroom, color TV, comfort provided for them, and they, convicted killers, don't even have to whoa. Now am I opposed to the death penalty as well? Yeah, I guess if somebody makes a mistake and they murder somebody, and it's not a crime of rage or passion, or maybe if it's self-defense, and they do life in prison, then yeah, I guess so be it. But not for cases where these sick maniacs who murder women, children, people like that should be put to death. There's no reason to keep them alive. They are sick and twisted, and there's no point of return for them. This is a huge debate, and it could go either way. Does the death penalty deter criminals or not? Well, look at the state of Texas, where they execute plenty of inmates. Look how many murders and serial killers probably go to the state of Texas. The answer is none. However, liberals and Democrats will still argue that the death penalty doesn't bring closure, and that it is inhumane, and it doesn't ward off predators. My argument against that is, a large population of these Democratic and liberal governmental elected officials, Gavin Newsom, CA governor, being one of them, laugh out loud, has never been victim to such horrible acts and crimes. Would a husband of two slain daughters and wife, let's pretend he's Gavin Newsom, and again, it's kind of a crazy analogy, would he have that same outlook on capital punishment? I reiterate, what if the same thing happened to his wife and daughters? Would he still repeal or pursue the nullification of execution, or whatever the heck they do in judicial terms? It's almost like they, Connecticut House of Representatives, Connecticut Senate, and Connecticut Supreme Court, settled on giving those two cutthroats the death penalty, and then afterward, they changed their mind. Unreal. Very organized too, by the way, with 3 different in-state governmental factions all dealing on the same matter. Sarcasm. Connecticut must have some weird laws, and in 2021, the news media mentions open carry laws, right to bear arms in public, for example, what took place in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Those states seem like a hot mess, not that California is any better. Although I'd hate to live in Minnesota, the way their police department is run. Although the police commish did receive recognition for firing the 4 police officers involved. My rant on Newsom is just an example. I don't care for him, and he wasn't involved in the Cheshire, Connecticut murders case. I also failed to mention regarding the death penalty. On the flip side, when a prisoner is put to death by lethal injection, it is done by a machine equipped with drug needles. But guess who sets up that machine? Another human being. I read this on Wiki, but inside the lethal injection room where the criminal is executed, outside there is a control console with 5 different operators and buttons. The computer erases which person presses the button to administer the final lethal dose of drug to the prisoner, such as the same method of issuing a blank cartridge to a firing squad. Still a tough job, no doubt. I guess if I had to, I could do it. That's why we need the Second Amendment, right to bear arms. We have to defend ourselves. Because a life in prison, no parole conviction still doesn't bring a loved one back. I rather face the possibility of indictment myself for defending my family against an evil attacker, and then rely on law enforcement. No offense. Also in prison, a lot of these child molesters, rapists, serial killers, they are in isolation and not in general population. Some of these assholes get protection inside the joint, but not all. As I mentioned earlier, Jeffrey Dahmer got what he had coming to him in prison. And hey, if you're a lifer doing time, you can provide some justice to us, which the law can't, by taking out these sick, motherless pups inside prison. They reap what they sow. Dahmer was beaten to death inside the shower. I say again, what goes around comes around. Maybe the death penalty should be abolished. I support criminals who aren't serial killers or rapists to take care of these animals inside prison. Shoot, I'd even send you a gratuity. I mean, if the dude is vile as Jeffrey Dahmer, then by God, he gets what he deserves. So I guess there is justice in that regards. I can't believe they even tried to call the ambulance, let the fool suffer to death, like all the victims he killed. And why not the guy who killed Dahmer is already in there serving life with no parole anyhow? With a lot of prisons, though, you have to be careful. I mean, if you are serving time with violent offenders, brutal beatdowns and rapes happen inside male and female prisons. There are some dudes who are ex-cons on YouTube who do podcasts on life inside the prison. So you have like armed robbery, breaking and entering, trafficking, possession, felony DUI, fraud, perjury.
I'm not sure exactly how to begin this chapter, so I'll tell you a little bit about myself. And why I didn't choose to become a writer, just kidding. The answer is I didn't. It chose me, well, according to my high school teachers. I knew I was good at it during an early age in my life. Not saying I'm Nick King or anything like that. The horror genre gets old anyhow. But I love to read it. Books, magazines, newspapers, bios, fiction, and nonfiction. For some reason, and you can weigh in if you like, fiction is a lot harder. Nonfiction is way easier to read and write for some reason. With fiction, you have to devote your mind to a time and place, which is suitable for your viewing or reading pleasure. However, if you are embraced by a fictional film or novel, you can always take a ride back to that journey. The never-ending story, LOL. People like my father, they watch a movie, once for the most part, and then they're done with it. Same with reading a novel. For me, I wish I could gather all that data in one fell swoop. And believe me, logical, left-brained people can. For right-brained thinkers like me and some of you, it takes us a while to get things. I can't just figure everything out by doing a mathematical equation, like Good Will Hunting. It takes a while. Back to writing. Yes, I was approached by my 3rd grade, 6th grade, 7th grade teacher. I believe even one of my short stories was submitted by a teacher to Reader's Digest. I forget the story. It was probably about surfing, because when I was that young, I used to love the movie Point Break LOL, and wanted to become a pro surfer. I love the ocean. I don't think RD published my story. Nowadays, bodyboarding is cool. Just don't step on any stingrays, which are infested at Southern California sandy beaches. It will hurt and sting you. And the dude, the crocodile hunter, or whoever he was, Steve Irwin, died from a fatal stab in the heart while swimming with a huge stingray. In Australia. Back to writing. In college, it helped me out. Writing a 7-page paper was easy. 2 of 3 of those pages are listed references or titles of books used for research. According to the MLMA format, to answer your question, no, I will not accept any payments whatsoever to write your college paper. And yes, I could get you an A. I don't believe in perjury or plagiarism. Plus, I could get arrested. Ha ha. I mean, do your own damn work, kiddo, if you're in college. Certainly that means you passed high school and can read and write. Write it down on paper and then pay someone to type and edit it. As long as you wrote the paper, it's not considered plagiarism. I mean, how you think I felt when the teacher busted out algebraic problems on the math board and all the other kids got it and I didn't? Yes, I was going to pay someone to do the problems for my homework, but I decided to weed it out and get a C, haha. Like some British dude. Oh bloody oh, cheerio, bullocks, cricky, limey. Says Earl from England. God save the Queen. What the hell, haha. Further, I digress into my next point. Go college or go pro depends. It is subject to interpretation. I've mentioned that earlier in my rights. A lot of issues with humans are different narratives and subjected to different interpretations. We have different algorithms. Go college or go pro, most say go to college first, as I talked about my favorite basketball player, Kobe, who went to the pros right out of high school. This is a different subjective interpretive narrative. On one hand, why the hell would you turn down millions of dollars to get paid when you could go to college and not receive a nickel, legally, and make only a $100,000, if that. Furthermore, if you're that good to turn pro, then do it. You can go to college later. I'm sure Charles Barkley would disagree. He was sort of critical about young NBA stars skipping college and going straight to the pros. He does have a point. I could reference the movie He Got Game, directed by Spike Lee with Ray Allen, who was a phenomenal player. I liked White Men Can't Jump Better lol. Yes, I love 80s and 90s movies. If there's anyone better than Kobe, maybe not on the entire level, it was Ray Allen. He was genius player. Shooter. That's what the movie is about, millions of dollars versus a college education. Honestly, I do agree with Charles. Players should go to college to help develop their game and make themselves ready for the pros. Not to mention study and learn something. But if a player is good enough, he might just be wasting time. I'm not sure if you can play college for 2 years and then sign up for the NBA draft. Kind of like the Army Reserve, I guess. And I'm not knocking college, it's great to learn something, like I said, but in the end, a degree won't guarantee that food will be put on your table. However, this is my subjective, interpretive, narrative, formulated opinion. If I had a chance to go pro, yeah right haha, or go to college, regardless of people's so-called advice, you better bet your ass I'm going to the pros. Money talks and bullshit walks. We are all black, white, brown and yellow, purple, whatever. And what color is money? Again, you have to do what's right. And most parents might think they know what's right, but in the end, all a parent's job is to put clothes on their kids' back, maintain their health and safety, and put food on the table. I think too many parents are selfish. No offense to any of you, I respect you, and put their own dreams ahead of their kids. If your kid wants to be a fashion designer, hairdresser, actor, tattoo artist, cop, porn star, stripper, it is his or her choice, not yours. Bar none, no exceptions, no ifs, ands, or buts, straight up. However, if you are a youngster reading this, it's always wise to at least take your parents' advice when you turn 18 and can legally make your own decisions. In the end, we are only as good as what we are worst at. Ha ha ha. The team can only be as fast as the slowest person. Michael Jordan was as only good as his jump shot. Remember, he was terrible at it. Then he stepped up his game. Shaquille O'Neal was only as good as his free throws. I think in the Western Conference Finals against Portland, he hit like 11 free throws in a row, due to the hackish Shaq. I guess if any player contemplates shooting granny to increase their percentage, then yes, he or she is a terrible free throw shooter. Funny how I keep mentioning feminism, because I played with a lot of females, who were good and competitive. As I might have stated with females, there are more roadblocks to becoming successful than men. Bearing children, raising children, etc. It's more difficult, and the timing is more limited and constricted for female sports, acting, or entertainment, than it is for men. Maybe that's why it's not considered equal. Truth is WNBA or tennis or gymnastics just isn't as popular as NBA, MLB, NFL, NHL, even though those are male sports. That's just the way it is. However, in the end, it's all about the almighty dollar. Money is our religion. Sorry, no disrespect, but we've all been to church praying, or not, when the priest passes around the collection plate. My point is, it's all part of the algorithm. My formulated opinion is this. With what I said about Jordan, Shaq, Wayne Gretzky, or whoever, we can learn from watching professional athletes. Make your weaknesses your strengths. Shaq was a terrible free throw shooter, but he made it his strength at one point. Meaning he's great at everything else: defense, passing, rebounds, assists, and shots. Gretzky, as good as he was, never won a championship with the LA Kings. If I'm more prolific at writing nonfiction than I am fiction, and fiction is my weakness, then I'll turn that into my strength. My book can only be as good as my weakest part of the story. So honestly, if my worst part isn't bad, then hopefully my best will be phenomenal. Switching up my rights for a second, I'm a huge movie fan. If you are not, I get it. You can skip through this chapter. Sorry, I'm not sorry. But writing is like cooking. Not everyone is going to like the type of dish you serve up. I was talking a lot about serial killers earlier, and that was due to watching True Detective. The first season with Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson was absolutely brilliant. I even liked the second season with Colin Farrell and Rachel McAdams. Vince Vaughn was brilliant. Taylor Kitsch from Savages was also very good. The third season was really skeptical Stephen Dorff, who played a solid role. However, the story was really crazy and very disturbing, especially the torn marriage between Mahershala Ali and his wife. It was very dark and disturbing. Maybe that's why I lock my window at night. Kidding. and read up on serial killers laugh out loud. I had an obsession with looking up serial killers during the post-pandemic lockdown, also known as quarantine era. Back to 2021. The pissed off pandemic is what I call it. I mean, people are really pissed off during this pandemic. Some people chose to ignore it. I know it. And I think those are the smartest people of all of us. If you ignore it and just pretend it doesn't exist, or choose not to pay attention to it, that's one less stress involved in your life. And you know what? There are other liberals or whoever and say all those people are idiots, those people are stupid. And so what? Who the heck cares if somebody says if you're stupid, smart, or intelligent? Social media, you can live your life the way you want to live. Who the hell cares you're not winning any consolation prize? It's about safety and well-being, and making the best possible decision for yourself. If I'm an idiot, oh well, I'd rather be an imbecile on my own terms, and live the life I want to live. Not the life that you say I should, and would I really listen to you anyhow? If people are morons, then they're morons. If you are smarter than them, so be it, doesn't mean they are not smart. Definitely with this whole pandemic, we didn't really see many people do intelligent things. On the other hand, I'll quote another good movie, Sometimes Ignorance is Bliss. I mean, I get it, we're moving forward at this point, and that's understandable. But the way people acted during this pandemic, especially out in public, was just unacceptable. Like hypothetically, I'm just going to the store to buy a case of beer. I don't need some weirdo wearing sunglasses and a mask inside a retail store, telling me not to enter unless I put a mask on. That is just straight up awkward, weird, and anxiety-driven. People need to mind their own business. Stop worrying about everyone else. And worry about themselves. Because that is probably what got you here. As for COVID, I contribute it to just another contagious flu. The people who are sick or are unhealthy, who are going to die anyways, and COVID just helped accelerate those chances. There are a lot of divisive opinions. Who knows, maybe that's what they planned all along. And if you criticize me, here goes. I can do what I want, when I want, the way I want, pretty much regardless of how others might think or judge, as long as I don't hurt myself or anyone else within the confines of the law. I go out and live my life. People can say whatever they want to me. It has no bearing or effect. Not saying I do or don't listen to criticism or praise. I'm not confined by social stigma. I pretty much do and say what I want. And do what I say. If I'm fake and acting, I'll go to school for that. Naifa. Am I a hypocrite? Sometimes, so is everyone. Have argued with people when in fact I don't even believe what I'm arguing just to win the argument for competition reasons. Yes, absolutely. However that way is done, that was the younger me. Now I'm the older, more refined me. I'd rather actually have to listen to somebody else, to say that I might find interesting, to gain knowledge or obtain that aspect instead of jumping in. Listeners are learners. Smart people realize when they're being, acting, or are, in fact, foolish. Idiotic people don't realize that they are moronic, and in fact think that they are being intelligent. I believe if you have in fact read my entire book, then I consider you a person worth talking to. For example, if you're a person who heard about my book from somebody else and then makes negative criticism, then perhaps you're not necessarily the person I want to speak with who is on the same intellectual level. Hey, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and if you're right, that's cool, I can see. I play fair. I fight fair. I played by the rules. Other people just try to cheat, dish out insults, and that's all good too. Do what you got to do, you die your way, I'll die mine. Gordon Gekko. Or like the movie Wolf of Wall, St. Jordan Belfort, a real-life character played by Leonardo DiCaprio. He rises to the top of the stock trading firm called Stratton Oakmont Inc. He initially begins with selling penny stocks, which do tend to have high buoyancy and big payouts. Also, it's hilarious. The camaraderie amongst all the young male sorority dudes or whoever the heck they are, doing a bunch of lines of cocaine throughout the movie and bang a prostitute laugh out loud. One of Martin Scorsese's funniest movies. I thought Jonah Hill was over the top in his performance. I wish he would do more movies with Marty. Leo is good as well, as he receives a lot of disapproval by many critics, saying he's not this, he's not that, but he definitely nailed this role. Lord have mercy, Margot Robbie is so smoking hot in this movie. OMG, forget about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. By far the worst movie I've ever seen besides The Irishman, in this pre-pandemic, post-pandemic era, whichever. These movies were absolutely terrible. And to be honest, I probably could have directed a better picture. And I haven't, as of yet, doesn't mean I won't in the future. Laugh out loud. I admit it, I used to be thought-provoking and biased. When I was younger and immature, I would try to instigate and argue.
Buying them. Furthermore, I'd like to illustrate, not everything is what it seems. Just because you're from a southern state, doesn't make you a Republican, and just because you're from New York doesn't make you a Democrat. Surely back to 2020, I'm positive some of the divisiveness has come down, and we can have some more common middle ground. Switching it up, I've really been into podcasts the last couple of years. Podcasts, which aren't relatively new, have become a new hit pop culture internet phenomenon. Most popular is Joe Rogan, who is an ex or current comedian, also hosted a TV show called Fear Factor back in the day. He was publicly known for the ostracizing of comic Carlos Menica, who apparently was a fraud or phony. Normally I wouldn't approve of that, interrupting a comic on stage, although, since Joe was telling the truth about Carlos, there's validity to it. He is also widely known for being a fight announcer for the UFC, aka Ultimate Fighting Championship. Rogan speaks on a lot of political topics, as well as health, science, sports, entertainment, and also a wide range of other societal issues. He's also had guests on his show who he interviews, and they provide inside knowledge with each subject. He's also had a few big celebrities on. His political claims suggest that he's a liberal, based on some of the definitions of free thinking and freedom of speech. However, he does sometimes illustrate some conservative point of views, and he's a firm believer with freedom of speech. So is he a liberal? Yes and no. I classify Rogan as more of a liberal/conservative, meaning most of his point of views are directed towards liberty and thinking, but if you go hunting or own a gun, Rogan is down for that cause, as long as you eat the animal and use the entire carcass, and not just hunt maliciously for sport. Here is my racist/non-racist rant. It's nothing compared to the animal wet markets in China where they butcher live dogs, cats, rabbits, or lizards, which pretty much started this whole crappy pandemic. Some of my people members are hardcore conservatives, and vote Republican all across the board, but have agreed with some things I've said. It's also okay for you to disagree with what I've said, politically. That's politics 101, baby. This is America, it's my right, the right to disagree. Michael Douglas, aka Defense, in a great movie from the early 90s era called Falling Down. I guess my problem with labeling someone either liberal or conservative is having to choose between the two. Like you're boxed in and have an ultimatum. Ironically, I think in some cases we have too many choices. Much like when you go to the grocery store, they have low-fat, soy, lactated, whole, non-fat, non-dairy, etc. It's like, why can't they just sell milk? Milk A or Milk B. On the other hand, with politics, we need multiple choices. We need a president who isn't going to overflood our borders with refugees, but who isn't going to deport people who've already been here that weren't born here. Or hires Polish immigrants to demolish his building, and then doesn't pay them and threatens to have them deported. 1990. It's too divided in politics right now. Basically, by writing about it, I'm damned if I do, and damned if I don't. If I speak out about one thing, I'm going to piss off this person. If speak out about another issue, I'm going to provoke this person. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. And if I offended you, I'm sorry. And one more thing, middle finger, haha. With politics, people are super defensive, and automatically by default return to their corners. And screw the both of you. All you bedwetting liberals, and hippies, haha. And all you yee-haw, hee-haw, right-wing, traditional, church-going conservatives. It's all bullcrap. Vote for who you want. Believe what you want, say what you want, because in America it's land of the free, right? Well, if you go to other countries it might not be. Some countries you can't vote or speak out against the government. We have spirit, yes we do, we have spirit, how about you? I like listening or watching this podcast. Some are by people who are amateurs or unknown, and some are very good. With a good podcast you need to have a poetic voice, so to say, and speak with a voice that can be heard, and I respect that. With Joe Rogan, he's good at it. Now it's funny because while he does preach a lot of libertarian point of views, it might seem, he tends to have a lot of fans who are more conservative or Republican. As I mentioned, during the pandemic, I believe, he announced he was relocating to the state of Texas. Now Texas has long been a known Republican state, in which would by theory, support conservative point of views. My point is that just because someone might have liberal ideologies, doesn't mean that they totally disagree with conservative right wings. In California, under Gavin Newsom, the politics were too liberal progressive, for Joe Rogan's taste, hence him moving out. Newsom to me is just a poor governor. Who cares if he's a Democrat or Republican? It really doesn't matter to most lower class or middle class, only people who are rich and have a ton of money. And most of the rich don't want to pay tax, or chip in for society, I mean some do. Some are wealthy and not greedy. Point being the middle class supports every party it seems. We pay for the rich, we are the large market of consumers who might purchase from these huge corporations. We also support the poor, we are the people who pay taxes which fund disability, welfare, food stamps etc. I reiterate, yes I feel we should help people provided if need be. On the other hand, no we shouldn't support all people, everyone should have the right to work and earn for their own. The government shouldn't control us. Our government should serve us, not the other way around. It's also hard for me to grasp this bipartisan crap, it seems like dog and pony show politics. You can't just force someone to choose sides and inspire non-independent thinking. So I stand behind what I write. If you don't like it and want to fight me, bring it. Din din, ha ha. I mean in a debate sense. I was pretty good on my high school debate team, JK. It's hard however to debate with uneducated people, because they just don't understand. A common response to a disagreement might be, oh you just don't get it, listen to me, you don't understand, etc. I do get it, I do understand, and I did listen to you, every word. And you know what, I don't agree with you, and now here is the most commonly question asked in the world. Why? There are 5 common questions: who, what, where, when and why. Why should be the least asked question on the planet. It's also a question asked by uneducated people. Hey, why did the lion attack the hyena? Well, probably because the hyena is a competitor for a natural food resource in which the lions like to eat, also on inhabiting plains of Africa. Hey, why do you shop at this store? Well, maybe because I prefer this store over that store, or maybe perhaps they have cleaner bathrooms for when I suddenly have to go take a dump, who knows? Hey, why is the sky blue? Well, the overall makeup and field of vision and contrast and colors of light reflected from the sun paint the pigmentation a blue color, depending on weather patterns and shapes, or if it's cloudy or windy etc. Hey, why do you leave the dishes in the sink? Because I'm a lazy piece of dirt who hates washing dishes, and I rather just not do them. LOL. Why do I like Coors Light over Budweiser? Because I feel that Coors has a better taste overall, and Bud is too hoppy. Or perhaps I don't know why. We are all individuals, not groups, and while it's okay to be part of a team, or be in a group, don't mean you have to judge or hate the other group. Why do you do it? The Warriors. No reason, I just like doing things like that. I've heard people say, oh you're one of those types And it's like who gives a rip if someone takes it up the butt, praises Jesus, smokes out of a bong, sits Indian style at the beach, or is black or white, or writes with their left or right hand. Get over it. Read some books and go to school. Obviously I am the more educated person if you disagree, and are narrow-minded. Sure, I might not like all music, but I'm open to listening to it or I'll appreciate it. Same with politics, you know it might not be my thing, but hey, I at least respect you as a friend for what you say. Believe what you want, dude, or do that. I usually ask where, what, and how. Like, how did this happen? And people look at me sideways, because I'm actually trying to gather and analyze data, not give a crap of why the dude wore a blue shirt or red shirt at his campaign meeting. So if you are an indie frog, welcome to my circle. Gen X baby. JK. I'm actually born in 1980, but I've heard I'm Gen X or I'm a millennial, whatever man. Call me what you will. Actually maybe the colloquial term I can relate to is Oregon Trail generation. It's a computer game we had to play in school. Basically it's a 2D graphic game, where you are a Western settler in your family and you ride in a buggy with a horse or whatever, and are met by a bunch of challenges health or weather related. Basically the term is derived from being an analog to digital aged generation. I can relate to, I grew up with record players, cassette tapes, and have a familiarity with VHS etc. I can also identify with digital media MP3s, DVD, stream and online viewing of media. I can operate both. And there's some who can't. Various people might not know how to operate a tape player. Some don't know how to use a computer. I can do both. Not to brag or boast. There are more of you like me out there, Jay. Getting off subject, honestly I feel, not think or know, or maybe I do, that if a person who votes only this way or that way, because of a political party, and follows what other people do, just because of the acceptance of a group, is a moron. Drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak. And here I get it, some people are busy, they don't have time to sit and read, and have kids to take care of, and don't have time to educate themselves. However, if you only side with one side, while it's okay to agree to disagree, it's moronic or idiotic to not understand the opposite side, because you might be too lazy or inept to agree with that side. I get it, Republicans don't want lazy Americans to not work, and only be on welfare. I get it, Democrats don't want Republicans to be racist, and own guns and shoot other humans. Howbeit, what you can do is only agree with one or the other. You have to take politics with a grain of salt. Yes, women's rights and yes, equality, but no, we can't abolish men. Why not? Asks Debbie the Democrat. Because then we would not have things built or fixed. We don't need women. Well, who would raise and feed and teach little children? See where I'm going. We can't have one side without the other. I hate black, I hate white, I hate yellow, I hate brown, I hate purple, I hate gold, I hate rainbows, I hate horse, I hate zebra, says Randy the racist. I love black, I love white, I love yellow, I love brown, I love purple, I love gold, I love rainbows, I love horse, I love zebra, says Larry the lover. See, who cares what race, nationality or gender or political affiliations a person is? We are all just people, one human race, that is what is relevant. Who you are as a person, it doesn't matter where you're from, only where you're going. Shoot, I hate everyone at any given moment, or I love everyone at any given moment, depends on my mood. I hate Republicans, but this year it's definitely Democrats. This is what happens when they take over the White House. Especially after a night of drinking. I hate all people, don't care who you are, and stay the hell away from me. My head is throbbing, my body is turning, and I'm gastrointestinal, know what I'm saying? Now we have an overflowing border, in which aren't we supposed to all be vaccinated to stop the spread of COVID-19? Can't do that anymore. Of course, if I support border patrol, that makes me a bigot, right? Yet if I'm for the migrant workers coming here, that makes me a Democrat, right? Well, how about this? Illegal is illegal, and you're a US citizen or not. Surely people can come into the country legally, which is an ongoing issue down south. However, later news, natural catastrophes usually dictate the news, such as that mean sub-Hurricane Ida. She was angry on the Gulf. Maybe luckily, after Katrina, New Orleans learned how to better respond to these events. Also now there's another conflict, again in Afghanistan. I'm sure a lot of you have been following that current event. Here's where it gets patriotic. I always have respect for the troops. At one point, a recruiter called my house when I was 18, wanting me to join the Marine Corps. What do
you to do with your life, son? Well, I want to be a professional musician, sir. I replied to the smooth-sounding, most likely, young white male in his early 20s. I tell you what, we have a great program here for that. he said, cool and savvy. And you know what? He's right. The Marines have marching band, and the fact I played the drums in high school had some influence on me, definitely. The Marines and other military march to the beat of a drum. Just watch a few good men. I would have been a drummer in the Marine Corps. It's crazy that people think I'm insane and off my rocker when I mention the Bacon brothers. Kevin Bacon is actually a guitarist who started a band with his brother before he began acting. Yet I mentioned it to this one gal, maybe my ex. She never heard of them and was like, are you serious? Maybe that's the same analogy, as in I don't vote for Republican or Democratic agendas. It's like, are you serious as a heart attack? My political views have changed since 2020. A hell of a year, and are more middle grounded to right wing almost. I think the Democrats have done a terrible job at this point. The economy still sucks. The border crisis, homelessness is all over the USA. COVID is still spreading, and we have other world conflicts popping up all over. I further digress. Regarding the troops, yes, I support them and respect them. A lot of people have mixed emotional feelings about war and battle. I guess this is my non-liberal side, where I feel it is necessary for young men, and now women also, who join the military and fight and die for our country. I have no problem with it. It's what they sign up for. I've spoken with a lot of vets. I say, I appreciate your service. Most responses are like, shoot, and I signed up for it. I mean, not to trivialize it either. Most say thank you. I don't want to give the wrong impression to you, the reader. Yes, we are thankful for their service. I mean, I never served. Meaning most troops sign up to serve their country and know that death might be imminent. I'm talking about the Army, Marines, Navy, SEALs too, Air Force, Coast Guard, etc., as well as police, fire, and paramedics, all city workers. But I respect them also, because I know I couldn't do it. On the other hand, it might not be all it's cracked up to be. Most non-combat vets have told me it's just like a regular job. Total opposite for combat vets. Many come back with PTSD, missing limbs, and that's just the bare minimal. If you read this and you served, I mean, no offense, I remember I wrote some stuff on FB and this guy told me, put on a uniform and serve your demi. In so many words, and I repeat, I respect our troops. My buddy Matt served in 2004, I believe, in the Afghan, as they call it, Afghanistan, in the more work. A guy I worked with, Steve, USMC, Desert Storm. That's no joke either. Watch the movie Jarhead. Even though ground combat wasn't the main objective, amongst the military branches and campaigns, the brutal hot climate, conditions, and politics caused many vets to get desertitis. I'll never forget when I was fishing at the pier somewhere in SoCal, and this fellow was talking to me, in full Marine Corps uniform, fishing right by me. We were shooting the breeze when another fellow, who to me was borderline presumptuous about it, said, "Hello sir, and thank you for your service," shaking the Marine's hand as he obliged. Nothing wrong with that, but then the Marine turns to me and says, "Shoot, I just ride a desk all day long and answer phones." My point being is, my respect has and always will be there for combat troops. I thought about joining and I didn't. But my father talked me out of it. He didn't want me going over to fight in the Middle East. My father served in the Navy for 4 years in the late 70s, right before I was born. My grandfather before my father served in World War II. I forget the years. 27th Infantry Division, Purple Hearts, and he had 11 years when he had to quit for medical reasons at a Warrant Officer 1, I believe. This is highly commendable in my opinion. Not sure, but I believe he made rank every year, meaning he got a promotion. In civilian terms, every year he served in the army. He landed on the beach of Normandy, as they call it, got shot at from enemy planes above in Africa, almost drowned with his rifle and gear landing on a French beach, till a big farm boy picked him up. He was 10 feet away from a mortar round that hit his command post, killing his XO. He told my grandma he was pinned down for days, true. I always wondered why my dad was so hard on me when I was younger. Coming from a military grandfather and father who served in the Navy, it wasn't as strict as you might think. My dad got the brunt of it. I only spoke to my grandfather about World War II in high school, on the telephone. He didn't say much, a 1st Infantry soldier in the army, doing his job basically. He said the politics were stupid, and Hitler was an idiot, and basically thought he could take over the whole world. Before you get all rowdy and bouty, read up on World War II. Hitler the main cause, invading Poland, with the Nazi German army. Truth be told, I respect war, like the art of war, by Sun Tzu. Know when and when not to fight your enemy, or however, my misquote is haha, men fight to the death. That is what we are here for, to carry the seed, to build strength, to protect women and children, and to kill if necessary, like a male lion on the plains of Africa, king of the jungle. Of my male macho chauvinist rant, again my opposition to feminism. But could it be just because of different genitalia, objective-minded based thinking, and superior dominant upper body strength? No. During World War II, you watch Saving Private Ryan. Women played a huge role in society, and I credit this to the absence of men, back when men and women stayed married, that this in fact is a major factor, inspiring the women's rights movement in the 60s and 70s. If you agree, cool. If not, you agree to disagree, metaphorically speaking.
I discussed movies, sports, serial killers, put the lotion in the basket, horror, feminism, and the current state of affairs. Let's delve a little deeper into the foxhole, shall we? Recently, a friend of mine, not a friend of ours, LOL, reviewed my previous book, 2020, A Hell of a Year, which it was. Everyone, I mean everybody, was divided on politics that year. Of course, what you expect, right? Well, it's funny to me, the critique or constructive criticism were that my views were moreover leftist. Meaning someone accused me of being a liberal. I thought it was hilarious, because I'm not trying to slam the guy, I mean he read my stuff, and I commend him for that. It's just funny that here I am sort of criticizing feminism, supporting the recall of Newsom, and yet I spoke out about police brutality, and he calls me a liberal tard. LOL, right-wing extremist. Specifically the incidents with police and injustices that occurred in 2020, we all know and are too familiar with. To clarify, I never once supported defunding police. We need police, in case, like I mentioned earlier, a serial killer or burglar tries to break into your house. I also mentioned in my previous novel everything is subjected to interpretation by that individual. On the other hand, it's part of being a writer. Someone reviews it, loves it, or they hate it. However, I'm surprised and impressed, and that I've gotten reviews at this point. It means I'm developing a fan base. The worst news is no news or reviews, which means you're not even on the radar. Politically, I'm middle of the road or like to be considered independent. Some views, yes, might be to the left, others might be to the right. And let me further clarify, agreeing with one side or the other doesn't mean I'm this or that. I take everyone's side. Also, there's no clear-cut definition on whether a person is liberal or conservative to me, but here goes. Liberal, in a political context, favoring policies that are socially progressive and promote social welfare. Similar. Progressive. Advanced. Modern. Forward-looking. Forward-thinking. Progressivist. Go ahead. Enlightened. Reformist. Radical. Left-wing. Leftist. Free-thinking asterisk. Politically correct star. PC. Right on. Opposite. Conservative. Reactionary. 2. Relating to or denoting a political and social philosophy that promotes individual rights, civil liberties, democracy, and free enterprise. Similar. Tolerant. Unprejudiced star. Unbigoted star. Broad-minded. Open-minded star. Enlightened. Forbearing. Permissive. Free star. Free and easy. Easygoing. Laissez-faire. Libertarian. Latitudinarian. unbiased, impartial, nonpartisan, indulgent, lenient, lax, soft, opposite, narrow-minded, bigoted. 3. Relating to a Liberal Party or, in the UK, the Liberal Democrat Party. Now. 2. A supporter of a political and social philosophy that promotes individual rights *, civil liberties, democracy, and free enterprise *. 3. A supporter or member of a Liberal Party or, in the UK, the Liberal Democrat Party. Copy and pasted baby just for you. Google.com. Conservative. In a political context. Favoring free enterprise *, private ownership *, and socially traditional ideas. Similar. Right-wing. Reactionary. Traditionalist. Unprogressive. Establishmentarian. Blimpish. Ultra-right. Fundamentalist. Alt-right. Tory. Republican. True blue. Opposite. Socialist. Relating to the Conservative Party in the UK or a similar party elsewhere. Adjective. Conservative. The Conservative government. Now. 2. A person favoring free enterprise *, private ownership *, and socially traditional ideas. A supporter or member of the Conservative Party in the UK or a similar party elsewhere. Noun. Conservative, plural noun, conservatives. So I do believe in freedom of speech, absolutely. I also agree with free enterprise, definitely. Do we have the right to own firearms? Totally. Should everyone mooch of the government? Food stamps, welfare, etc. No, but there should be help provided to people in need. Basically, my political views are considered moderate or middle of the road. I even took a pop quiz on my iPhone LOL, and I used an asterisk to every point of view I agreed with. I've attended college, SOSM, MSJC, been taught by professors. I know how to source my facts and relate my opinions poetically. I mean, people should have to work hard, etc. The government shouldn't have the right to control all of us and dictate our every move. Like I said, I tend to be in the middle, but I might side left or right. Right and wrong. Or I might use my right or left hand. LOL, what's the difference? However, you the reader are entitled to your own opinion. It won't be before long some feminist or hardcore liberal will criticize me for being a racist or right-wing conservative for being a Democrat in some of my point of views. Here's the deal, I don't believe everyone who lives in Florida, Texas, Georgia, and Louisiana, whatever, is a redneck, inbred, racist, just because they hang Confederate flags and go hog hunting. On the contrary, I was, believe it or not, in a career involved in financial advisement, selling also insurance. And to get licensed, the dude who taught the class had like 2 or 3 degrees with a minor in this, doctorate in that, etc. He was from Duluth, Georgia, I think, great teacher and smart as a whip. He did, however, talk with a big-time southern accent. You want me to put these boots in a bag, long southern bell drawn, outdraw, lady cashier at Walmart asks the other lady customer. This guy, I forget his name, was very smart. Point being, just because someone is from the South or wherever doesn't make them a racist, or if they own guns and go hog hunting. I might like to try it one of these days. This is another topic entirely I might address later about killing animals and eating them versus going to the supermarket and buying them. Furthermore, I'd like to illustrate, not everything is what it seems. Just because you're from a southern state doesn't make you a Republican, and just because you're from New York doesn't make you a Democrat. Surely back to 2020, I'm positive some of the divisiveness has come down, and we can have some more common middle ground. Switching it up, I've really been into podcasts the last couple of years. Podcasts, which aren't relatively new, have become a new hit pop culture, internet phenomenon. Most popular is Joe Rogan, who is an ex or current comedian, also hosted a TV show called Fear Factor back in the day. He was publicly known for the ostracizing of comic Carlos Menica, who apparently was a fraud or phony. Normally I wouldn't approve of that, interrupting a comic on stage, although, since Joe was telling the truth about Carlos, there's validity to it. He is also widely known for being a fight announcer for the UFC, aka Ultimate Fighting Championship. Rogan speaks on a lot of political topics, as well as health, science, sports, entertainment, and also a wide range of other societal issues. He's also had guests on his show who he interviews, and they provide inside knowledge with each subject. He's also had a few big celebrities on. His political claims suggest that he's a liberal, based on some of the definitions of free thinking and freedom of speech. However, he does sometimes illustrate some conservative point of views, and he's a firm believer with freedom of speech. So is he a liberal? Yes and no. I classify Rogan as more of a liberal/conservative, meaning most of his point of views are directed towards liberty and thinking, but if you go hunting or own a gun, Rogan is down for that cause, as long as you eat the animal and use the entire carcass, and not just hunt maliciously for sport. Here is my racist/non-racist rant. It's nothing compared to the animal wet markets in China where they butcher live dogs, cats, rabbits, or lizards, which pretty much started this whole crappy pandemic. Some of my people members are hardcore conservatives and vote Republican all across the board, but have agreed with some things I've said. It's also okay for you to disagree with what I've said politically. That's politics 101, baby. This is America. It's my right, the right to disagree. Michael Douglas, aka Defense, in a great movie from the early 90s era called Falling Down. I guess my problem with labeling someone either liberal or conservative is having to choose between the two. Like you're boxed in and have an ultimatum. Ironically, I think in some cases we have too many choices. Much like when you go to the grocery store, they have low-fat, soy, lactated, whole, non-fat, non-dairy, etc. It's like, why can't they just sell milk? Milk A or Milk B? On the other hand, with politics, we need multiple choices. We need a president who isn't going to overflood our borders with refugees, but who isn't going to deport people who've already been here that weren't born here. Or hires Polish immigrants to demolish his building, and then doesn't pay them and threatens to have them deported. 1990. It's too divided in politics right now. Basically, by writing about it, I'm damned if I do, and damned if I don't. If I speak out about one thing, I'm going to piss off this person. If speak out about another issue, I'm going to provoke this person. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. And if I offended you, I'm sorry. And one more thing, middle finger, haha. With politics, people are super defensive, and automatically by default return to their corners. And screw the both of you. All you bedwetting liberals, and hippies, haha. And all you yee-haw, hee-haw, right-wing, traditional, church-going conservatives. It's all bullcrap. Vote for who you want. Believe what you want, say what you want, because in America it's land of the free, right? Well, if you go to other countries it might not be. Some countries you can't vote, or speak out against the government. We have spirit, yes we do, we have spirit. How about you? I like listening or watching this podcast. Some are by people who are amateurs or unknown, and some are very good. With a good podcast you need to have a poetic voice, so to say, and speak with a voice that can be heard, and I respect that. With Joe Rogan, he's good at it. Now it's funny because while he does preach a lot of libertarian point of views, it might seem, he tends to have a lot of fans who are more conservative or Republican. As I mentioned, during the pandemic, I believe, he announced he was relocating to the state of Texas. Now Texas has long been a known Republican state, in which would by theory, support conservative point of views. My point is that just because someone might have liberal ideologies, doesn't mean that they totally disagree with conservative right wings. In California, under Gavin Newsom, the politics were too liberal progressive, for Joe Rogan's taste, hence him moving out. Newsom to me is just a poor governor. Who cares if he's a Democrat or Republican? It really doesn't matter to most lower class or middle class, only people who are rich and have a ton of money. And most of the rich don't want to pay tax, or chip in for society, I mean some do. Some are wealthy and not greedy. Point being the middle class supports every party it seems. We pay for the rich, we are the large market of consumers who might purchase from these huge corporations. We also support the poor, we are the people who pay taxes which fund disability, welfare, food stamps, etc. I reiterate, yes I feel we should help people provided if need be. On the other hand, No, we shouldn't support all people. Everyone should have the right to work and earn for their own. The government shouldn't control us. Our government should serve us, not the other way around. It's also hard for me to grasp this bipartisan crap. It seems like dog and pony show politics. You can't just force someone to choose sides and inspire non-independent thinking. So I stand behind what I write. If you don't like it and want to fight me, bring it. Din din. Ha ha. I mean in a debate sense. I was pretty good on my high school debate team, JK. It's hard, however, to debate with uneducated people because they just don't understand. A common response to a disagreement might be, "Oh, you just don't get it. Listen to me, you don't understand," etc. I do get it, I do understand, and I did listen to you, every word. And you know what? I don't agree with you, and now here is the most commonly question asked in the world. Why? There are 5 common questions: who, what, where, when and why. Why should be the least asked question on the planet. It's also a question asked by uneducated people. Hey, why did the lion attack the hyena? Well, probably because the hyena is a competitor for a natural food resource in which the lions like to eat, also on inhabiting plains of Africa. Hey, why do you shop at this store? Well, maybe because I prefer this store over that store, or maybe perhaps they have cleaner bathrooms for when I suddenly have to go take a dump, who knows? Hey, why is the sky blue? Well, the overall makeup and field of vision and contrast and colors of light reflected from the sun paint the pigmentation a blue color, depending on weather patterns and shapes, or if it's cloudy or windy, etc. Hey, why do you leave the dishes in the sink? Because I'm a lazy piece of dirt who hates washing dishes, and I rather just not do them. LOL. Why do I like Coors Light over Budweiser? Because I feel that Coors has a better taste overall, and Bud is too hoppy. Or perhaps I don't know why. We are all individuals, not groups, and while it's okay to be part of a team, or be in a group, don't mean you have to judge or hate the other group. Why do you do it? The Warriors. No reason, I just like doing things like that. I've heard people say, "Oh, you're one of those types, eh?" And it's like, who gives a rip if someone takes it up the butt, praises Jesus, smokes out of a bong, sits Indian style at the beach, or is black or white, or writes with their left or right hand. Get over it. Read some books and go to school. Obviously, I am the more educated person if you disagree and are narrow-minded. Sure, I might not like all music, but I'm open to listening to it, or I'll appreciate it. Same with politics. You know, it might not be my thing, but hey, I at least respect you as a friend for what you say. Believe what you want, dude, or do that. I usually ask where, what, and how. Like, how did this happen? And people look at me sideways, because I'm actually trying to gather and analyze data, not give a crap of why the dude wore a blue shirt or red shirt at his campaign meeting. So if you are an indie frog, welcome to my circle. Gen X baby. JK. I'm actually born in 1980, but I've heard I'm Gen X or I'm a millennial, whatever man. Call me what you will. Actually, maybe the colloquial term I can relate to is Oregon Trail generation. It's a computer game we had to play in school. Basically, it's a 2D graphic game where you are a Western settler in your family and you ride in a buggy with a horse or whatever and are met by a bunch of challenges, health or weather related. Basically, the term is derived from being an analog to digital aged generation. I can relate to, I grew up with record players, cassette tapes, and have a familiarity with VHS, etc. I can also identify with digital media, MP3s, DVD, stream, and online viewing of media. I can operate both. And there's some who can't. Various people might not know how to operate a tape player. Some don't know how to use a computer. I can do both. Not to brag or boast. There are more of you like me out there, Jay. Getting off subject, honestly I feel, not think or know, or maybe I do, that if a person who votes only this way or that way, because of a political party, and follows what other people do, just because of the acceptance of a group, is a moron. Drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak. And here I get it. Some people are busy, they don't have time to sit and read, and have kids to take care of, and don't have time to educate themselves. However, if you only side with one side, while it's okay to agree to disagree, it's moronic or idiotic, to not understand the opposite side, because you might be too lazy or inept to agree with that side. I get it, Republicans don't want lazy Americans to not work and only be on welfare. I get it, Democrats don't want Republicans to be racist and own guns and shoot other humans. Howbeit, what you can do is only agree with one or the other. You have to take politics with a grain of salt. Yes, women's rights and yes, equality, but no, we can't abolish men. Why not? Asks Debbie the Democrat. Because then we would not have things built or fixed. We don't need women. Well, who would raise and feed and teach little children? See where I'm going. We can't have one side without the other. I hate black, I hate white, I hate yellow, I hate brown, I hate purple, I hate gold, I hate rainbows, I hate horse, I hate zebra, says Randy the racist. I love black, I love white, I love yellow, I love brown, I love purple, I love gold, I love rainbows, I love horse, I love zebra, says Larry the lover. See, who cares what race, nationality, or gender or political affiliations a person is? We are all just people, one human race. That is what is relevant. Who you are as a person, it doesn't matter where you're from, only where you're going. Shoot, I hate everyone at any given moment, or I love everyone at any given moment, depends on my mood. I hate Republicans, but this year it's definitely Democrats. This is what happens when they take over the White House. Especially after a night of drinking. I hate all people, don't care who you are, and stay the hell away from me. My head is throbbing, my body is turning, and I'm gastrointestinal. Know what I'm saying? Now we have an overflowing border, in which aren't we supposed to all be vaccinated to stop the spread of COVID-19? Can't do that anymore. Of course, if I support border patrol, that makes me a bigot, right? Yet if I'm for the migrant workers coming here, that makes me a Democrat, right? Well, how about this? Illegal is illegal, and you're a US citizen or not. Surely people can come into the country legally, which is an ongoing issue down south. However, later news, natural catastrophes usually dictate the news, such as that mean sub-Hurricane Ida. She was angry on the Gulf. Maybe luckily, after Katrina, New Orleans learned how to better respond to these events. Also now there's another conflict, again in Afghanistan. I'm sure a lot of you have been following that current event. Here's where it gets patriotic. I always have respect for the troops. At one point, a recruiter called my house when I was 18, wanting me to join the Marine Corps. What do
you want to do with your life, son? Well, I want to be a professional musician, sir. I replied to the smooth-sounding, most likely, young white male in his early 20s. I tell you what, we have a great program here for that, he said, cool and savvy. And you know what, he's right. The Marines have marching band, and the fact I played the drums in high school had some influence on me, definitely. The Marines and other military march to the beat of a drum. Just watch a few good men. I would have been a drummer in the Marine Corps. It's crazy that people think I'm insane and off my rocker when I mention the Bacon brothers. Kevin Bacon is actually a guitarist who started a band with his brother before he began acting. Yet I mentioned it to this one gal, maybe my ex. She never heard of them and was like, are you serious? Maybe that's the same analogy, as in I don't vote for Republican or Democratic agendas. It's like, are you serious, as a heart attack. My political views have changed since 2020, a hell of a year, and are more middle grounded to right wing almost. I think the Democrats have done a terrible job at this point. The economy still sucks. The border crisis, homelessness is all over the USA. COVID is still spreading, and we have other world conflicts popping up all over. I further digress. Regarding the troops, yes, I support them and respect them. A lot of people have mixed emotional feelings about war and battle. I guess this is my non-liberal side, where I feel it is necessary for young men, and now women also, who join the military and fight and die for our country. I have no problem with it. It's what they sign up for. I've spoken with a lot of vets. I say, I appreciate your service. Most responses are like, shoot, and I signed up for it. I mean, not to trivialize it either. Most say thank you. I don't want to give the wrong impression to you. The reader. Yes, we are thankful for their service. I mean, I never served. Meaning most troops sign up to serve their country and know that death might be imminent. I'm talking about the Army, Marines, Navy, SEALs too, Air Force, Coast Guard, etc., as well as police, fire, and paramedics, all city workers. But I respect them also, because I know I couldn't do it. On the other hand, it might not be all it's cracked up to be. Most non-combat vets have told me it's just like a regular job. Total opposite for combat vets. Many come back with PTSD, missing limbs, and that's just the bare minimal. If you read this and you served, I mean no offense, I remember I wrote some stuff on FB and this guy told me put on a uniform and serve you dummy. In so many words, and I repeat, I respect our troops. My buddy Matt served in 2004, I believe, in the Afghan, as they call it, Afghanistan, in the more work. A guy I worked with, Steve, USMC, Desert Storm, that's no joke either. Watch the movie Jarhead. Even though ground combat wasn't the main objective, amongst the military branches and campaigns, the brutal hot climate, conditions, and politics caused many vets to get desertitis. I'll never forget when I was fishing at the pier somewhere in SoCal, and this fellow was talking to me, in full Marine Corps uniform, fishing right by me. We were shooting the breeze when another fellow, who to me was borderline presumptuous about it, said, "Hello sir, and thank you for your service," shaking the Marine's hand as he obliged. Nothing wrong with that, but then the Marine turns to me and says, "Shoot, I just ride a desk all day long and answer phones." My point being is, my respect has and always will be there for combat troops. I thought about joining and I didn't. But my father talked me out of it. He didn't want me going over to fight in the Middle East. My father served in the Navy for 4 years in the late 70s, right before I was born. My grandfather before my father served in World War II. I forget the years. 27th Infantry Division, Purple Hearts, and he had 11 years when he had to quit for medical reasons at a Warrant Officer 1, I believe. This is highly commendable in my opinion. Not sure, but I believe he made rank every year, meaning he got a promotion. In civilian terms, every year he served in the army. He landed on the beach of Normandy, as they call it, got shot at from enemy planes above in Africa, almost drowned with his rifle and gear landing on a French beach, till a big farm boy picked him up. He was 10 feet away from a mortar round that hit his command post, killing his XO. He told my grandma he was pinned down for days. True, I always wondered why my dad was so hard on me when I was younger. Coming from a military grandfather and father who served in the Navy, it wasn't as strict as you might think. My dad got the brunt of it. I only spoke to my grandfather about World War II in high school, on the telephone. He didn't say much. A 1st Infantry soldier in the army, doing his job basically. He said the politics were stupid, and Hitler was an idiot, and basically thought he could take over the whole world. Before you get all rowdy and bouty, read up on World War II. Hitler the main cause, invading Poland, with the Nazi German army. Truth be told, I respect war, like the art of war, by Sun Tzu. Know when and when not to fight your enemy, or however, my misquote is, haha, men fight to the death. That is what we are here for, to carry the seed, to build strength, to protect women and children, and to kill if necessary, like a male lion on the plains of Africa, king of the jungle. Of my male macho chauvinist rant, again my opposition to feminism, but could it be just because of different genitalia, objective-minded based thinking, and superior dominant upper body strength? No. During World War II, you watch Saving Private Ryan, women played a huge role in society, and I credit this to the absence of men, back when men and women stayed married, that this in fact is a major factor, inspiring the women's rights movement in the 60s and 70s. If you agree, cool. If not, you agree to disagree, metaphorically speaking.
Last 2 years have been tumultuous to say the least.
I'll be glad to see everyone come back together hopefully when this is all over. One love, RIP to all my people who aren't here anymore. I'm not at liberty to state names as of yet, talking friends and families and loved ones lost. In 2021 also, people I've known and went to HS have passed on to the next life. One dude in particular, and if you know me, you know who I'm talking about. I won't say names yet. I knew him in high school, he was a good guy. The Great Gig in the Sky, Pink Floyd. Also my aunt, aka godmother, passed in 2020, and my mother's friend's husband, which was sad too. He was a good guy as well. I'm sorry for anyone who's lost their lives to cancer, COVID, flu, diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's, stroke, etc. It reminds me that I have to take better care of myself. Also, we as Americans smoke, drink alcohol, are overweight, eat fast food, drink soda, processed meat, etc. Is this our fault? Not entirely, it's the system's fault. Same with the government and voting. Yes, we have a right to vote, and who gets elected does have some impact upon us, but not really, it's the algorithm. Whatever course or trajectory the missile takes and lands, all these big-time beef suppliers such as Foster Farms, Oscar Mayer, Tyson, whoever, these companies are the same as Heinz, General Mills, etc. They mass-produce food for the USA, similar to China except different. China consumes rats, dogs, cats, birds, lizards, snakes and bats, hence why I'm writing these 2 books to begin with. In our current state of affairs, we all go to the grocery store and eat meat and processed foods, all of which aren't healthy. I do myself, but I'm trying to cut back on sugar, which causes obesity, especially with soda, which has high fructose corn syrup. Watch the movie with Matt Damon, The Informant. He delves into corn and how it's mass-produced to make other goods. High fructose corn syrup, which makes better mass production of soda, is basically sugary flavored water, with huge calories and no health benefits whatsoever. Even beer or wine is healthier than soda. Why do we eat this crap? Because it tastes good. We develop a sweet tooth. However, there are better alternatives these days to healthier choices besides going vegan, or only eating fish, or Mediterranean. Even real sugar cane soda is better, supposedly. It's called organic, or grass-fed beef, cage-less chickens, basically to eat meat in a non-processed form. These animals and livestock are caged together, defecating on each other. It's inhumane, but also can contaminate food, even though these companies will deny it. And it does happen all the time. Point is, you can buy from smaller companies anyways, to get your natural grass-fed beef and cage-less hens. Certain farms now sell their products online, and you can get it delivered to your front door. I hear elk meat is very good also. Meat does have health benefits, good for calories and protein, but eating it all the time isn't, which I probably eat too much of, I might add. Doctor says take an omega-3 pill with every meal. Why? To gain healthy heart function, especially among men who consume a ton of red meat. Omega-3s have mackerel, salmon, and other fish species, which help build nutrients and is beneficial for the heart. The reason being is fish is a cleaner meat than beef, less fat, and the omega-3s in the fish meat are healthy nutrient. Still and all, we Americans love McDonald's or Carl's Jr. and Jack in the Box. It's okay to treat ourselves once in a while. But folks who eat this crap every day, and become obese, you really think unhealthy people are going to do well with COVID, or the flu? The radio and CNN is lying, saying even healthy people can get really sick, in fear-mongering, which anyone, and everyone can get very sick, so it's irrelevant. Also, now your phone trackers are going to tell you what to do, when you Google this crap. Just because I enjoy Keanu Reeves movies, John Wick, or The Matrix, doesn't mean I'm going to stream The Gift lol. Point being, with good diet and exercise, this promotes a healthy immune system. Getting a shot or vaccine might not help you if you are unhealthy to begin with. Especially in men, we are the less healthy of the two sexes. Hey, I was bashing feminists earlier, so now you have a one-up on us. Also with the flu or COVID or whatever, men and women can both get sick, but statistically men are usually to die first, from heart attack, cancer, liver disease, stroke, etc. Sort of my point earlier, men get sent off to war, and we are supposed to die first, not women and kids. I know men are human too, But this is what we are made for, not women and children. I simply was pointing out the contradicting ideologies of society that feminism promotes, thus disregarding gender roles in our world, or at least to some extent, depending on which feminist group I mean. Who was the lawyer lady attorney? Marcia Clark. She was the lead prosecutor in the O.J. Simpson murder 1992. Now that was a hell of a year. The 90s were crazy. I mean, we didn't have to wear these silly masks while out walking our dogs to talk with neighbors, yet it was crazy. Here's a female attorney, trying to prosecute a murder case with innocent victims, man, and women, and she gets demoralized by a team of male defense lawyers. It's not fair. If you're a feminist, you should focus your efforts on a-holes like that man, who get other men, like O.J. Simpson, a not guilty murder verdict, when he most likely did kill his wife and her friend. I mean, I don't know for certain, just watch O.J. nowadays with his mannerisms, and the way he acts on camera. Plus what O.J. was sentenced to prison in Las Vegas, remember? In like 2007, he was paroled in 2017, I think. Not to mention that heinous mofo Bill Cosby or even Michael Jackson. I mentioned serial killers earlier, and these people I think are just as bad. Doesn't matter if he broke how many NFL records, or it was the most watched comedy sitcom in the 70s or 80s, or one of the most influential pop singers of all time. Saint Anger. Oh wait, that's Metallica. So feminism promotes these jerks. Lol. Oh, I love Michael Jackson. I love OJ, says big-headed Becky. It's like Chica, you know, these men killed and molested and raped women, right? As a crusader, how the heck can you support these men? And blame the men who poop and fart and leave the toilet seat up? It doesn't make any sense, kind of like my last 2 paragraphs regarding obesity. Lol JK, it does make sense. Men marry women, and women feed men, and cook those steaks, feed them donuts and sweets, and then cry when their husband passes away from heart attack. Hi mom, JK, sorry, no joke about death, but there is some hypocrisy there, don't you think? Some men beat, kill, and rape women, and he gets a pass. Meanwhile, a dude does his work, takes care of the kids, doesn't cheat, and his wife sleeps with the mailman and divorces him, takes all his money, and custody of the kids. Nice guys finish last. No good deed goes unpunished. I'm quoting my favorite show again. Now I get the slogan. There is some truth in a non-fictional sense. It means if you're nice to people and do favors, they basically take a dump on you or advantage of you in return. However, contrarily, karma is what goes around comes around. So if you yourself steal, rob, and kill, who knows, it might happen to you one day. Chris Rock, everyone's favorite comedian, disagrees, but he's wrong, because he makes fun of a lot of other actors and comedians, yet the Wayans brothers roasted him hard at one of the MTV Music Awards, remember? Scary Movie. Keep my baby off the pole. Just saying, karma does bite people in the ass, but not all the time. For instance, I've given people countless rides home to and from school, yet when I need help they don't reciprocate. Same thing happened at work, and these people were bugging me to take them all across town, without even contributing to fuel costs. Edit. I don't have time for that. I'm a nice guy. I don't keep track of favors, but if I've done good by you, it's only right you do good by me. But for some people it doesn't work that way. So you have no good deed goes unpunished, but you have karma, what goes around comes around. Helping people out and doing favors is a good thing. However, I guess the advice is don't let people take advantage of you, or use you for your car or borrowing your stove, or whatever, if they themselves don't want to return the favor. Like some people, they want to bust your balls, but when they are in need they are all nice, fake, and superficial. I'm real, you get what you get. I'll help you out, but if I say no, don't get butt hurt. Happens a lot with people I know. They want you to help them, and they will of course call you up, but when it's their turn to commit it's like, oh well, I'm busy, says hold it Harry, and yeah, I get it, but at what point are you going to tell me that you actually believe that your time is more valuable than mine? Because that's what you're saying, right? Oh, I can't do it today, I'm busy, says Larry the liar. But I helped you when I was busy and still managed, says good guy Glenn. Well, that's the whole point. I don't run off of other people's timelines, since time is the most valuable thing, more than money. What good is $1 million in the bank, if you can't spend it? What's that movie called? Out of Time or In Time? For instance, I've helped people move. I get it, they need help, and it usually takes all day long. I've counted sometimes like I can help you half day. Oh, that's not going to work, very demanding, I might add. So I'm a trooper, I lift heavy stuff, boxes, mattress, TV, etc. Can you put it here please? No, over here. I said over here. Are you not listening? Says liberal Lisa. I'm listening, it's just I'm carrying a 100 pounds dresser set that's heavy ass, and I'm concentration on the lift, not your dictator instructions. Then they of course buy crappy pizza, stale beer, and offer no payment whatsoever. Lol. Call a damn moving company. I say, gonna take a minute and give a shout out to my early graphic design manipulation, as I call it. I took digital photography 101, or like my famous friend said in freshman year, photography. Lol. Here are some computer scanned manipulated images and digital photo collages I made. Enjoy.
Nine. Some people lean all the way to the right, so in that case you'll disagree with whatever I say regardless. Only vote Democrat or only vote Republican, or if you are independent, you can vote both, duh. To my buddy especially, hey, I commend him. He read my book but supports Trump to the end. Unrealistic right-wing agenda, which is almost as bad as left-wing conservatism. I don't retract anything I wrote in 2020. Trump has to go, Newsom has to go, Cuomo has to go. We're starting a new line here. Bye-bye California, as we all know, a blue state. So imagine that. A crappy governor like Newsom won't get recalled because we have some other clown Larry Elder who thinks minimum wage should be $0. How about a get things done kind of guy? Forget talking about it, do it. COVID-19, supposedly man-made or wild bat infected from Wuhan, China, started this whole mess. Now we have vaccine mandates, torn and divided politically families, and the worst COVID cases in the USA. Despite all the hoopla, I'm not right-wing extremist, and I'm no left-wing liberal. Sorry, can't do both, and won't, and am glad. Just because you bought and read my book, didn't agree, and gave me honest feedback, well, here is mine. I don't care. Say what you will, vote for who you want, register Democrat or Republican. Either or, if they or he or she does a crappy job, voters have the right to be displeased. I mean, everyone's an idiot if you yourself are not intelligent and can't realize right from wrong and make it all about yourself. Meaning everyone will be stupid in your opinion. Hint, it's really not your world. You just live in it. You are part of the algorithm. Your entitlement means nothing unless you have the power. Well, knowledge also is power. I don't think all people are stupid. There are educated, uneducated, talented, untalented, trained or untrained, people who can admit when they're wrong, people who won't, people with reading disabilities, mental disabilities, etc. Smart people realize when they make mistakes. Hence, that's how they become smart in the first place, through trial and error. Stupid people think they are right all the time, don't listen to anyone, and make the same mistake over and over. Also, experience matters and is relevant. You can read 1,000,000 books, but until you've experienced something in life, you won't have the visceral experience. Another point my other acquaintance made, which makes sense, is if someone doesn't agree with your or someone else, they won't support the cause, even if it does have some validity. Yet, if you oppose theirs, they ostracize you. These people are dangerous, and stay away from them. Ignorant, deceptive, manipulative, presumptuous, not comprehensive, have no empathy, values, or morals. A dime a dozen. With this pandemic, no one will agree with every issue. People will remain divided on other stances and causes. Like I said, educated people will have their own beliefs and maybe agree to disagree with those who share opposite views. The not-so-educated people will just blame the other side and call them morons, when in fact they are part of the problem and not solution. If I dislike Newsom as governor, that's my damn prerogative. If you support Newsom, hey, that's your freedom of choice. Salute. I've heard both sides of the science and data. Dr. Fauci is correct on some things, but so is Dr. Rand Paul. Yes, there are lifelong natural immunities from chickenpox or measles. And to the other side, yes, there have been vaccines also for a long time. Doctors mention tetanus. Don't believe me, look it up. Do some homework. If not, you can say I'm wrong a million times. Doesn't make it so. Also, if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. Part of data and research, and also subjective to interpretation. As I mentioned in my last novel, one person read it, and he didn't really understand what it was about, but that's part of the review process. Some might agree, some might disagree. At this point, there's not much more that can be done to move in our lives. Say, for example, I've had COVID in 2020, had positive antibodies in my system with blood test. 2021, get vaccinated in August, both shots of Pfizer. Technically, what more can I do? Wash my hands, stay home, and wear a mask. Is that going to make it go away? It's here to stay, and we all know that, and sooner we get on with our lives, the better. Most have. Some haven't. Some still go to the store with their mask on, vaccinated and all. Some don't get the shot, get sick, or maybe not. You'll never know until you do. That's life, that's the way it goes, and I can't furthermore waste any more thoughts on this. This is One Tusk, and I'm out. Hope everyone has fun, but stay safe.
Basically, I've written everything I could about this blah, blah, pandemic, and it didn't change a thing. Some say it's fake, some say it's dangerous, and some people like my friend, who read my previous book and called me a liberal, should move to Texas, with their lifted truck, handguns out the window, and drive down a muddy dirt road, Trump 2020 flags and all lol. Who knows, he might get another shot in 2024. I might move to Florida where there are no pandemic restrictions. Keep in mind California has the highest rate of positivity in the nation, with Worldometer.com, USA with the highest infections, only in California. Look, I know every country doesn't accurately report cases, blah, blah, that's why this is so exhausting to talk about. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Scenario? So maybe I'll save this section for more fun topics such as we all know, movies and TV, sports, music, and hobbies as well. The fun stuff we all maybe missed out on, temporarily, during the aka quarantine. It was all about left and right. Well, I wash my hands and face with both my left and right hand, so all you left and right only people, go spit into the wind. I don't know about you, but besides being with your wife and kids during this pandemic, maybe you caught up on some home projects. Some neighbors I know built indoor gyms inside their garage. Professional too, I think my neighbors spent about 10 grand. Of course, with all the stimulus checks, people went buck wild. I take it people bought a buttload of stuff from Walmart, Target. I mean, ships were backed up in the Suez Canal, one got stuck, remember? A lot of streams on YouTube, old music, new music, every genre, except gospel, and some country. It was a bummer when the gyms were closed. Yeah, I blamed the governor for that one too. How's anyone supposed to maintain cardiovascular fitness besides hiking on closed trails anyhow? I'm proud of our young bucks. I saw a lot of people at these privately owned gyms working their asses off to stay in shape during this. That's one thing I sure didn't do, gaining some weight. Pigging out on food, backyard barbecues, and violating the stay-at-home orders, in which the Riverside County Sheriff didn't enforce anyways, and I was very glad to hear that. People ask me when I opposed mandated COVID restrictions, don't you care about your family? Which is ridiculous question, in favor of fear-mongering. Of course I do, that's why I value freedom, with so many unknown variables about COVID-19, now even if you are vaccinated the media reports breakthrough cases, and my parents believe every word of it. Drinking the Kool-Aid. It seems like most other people don't want someone else to give them COVID versus if they get it and pass it to someone else. Don't give it to me. It's like a game of hot potato. It's almost as if this pandemic caused more psychological pain with the unknown variables, to people, than it did from the physical sickness itself. And this pandemic has inspired a huge divide with team politics, due to media, and public hysteria. All this data is based on factual and non-factual data. Also unknown origins so far of whether this was an animal-spawned virus, or lab leak or other. That information will probably never have been known. What if the vaccine isn't fully effective? And the antibodies are not? Or if masks do or don't work, what's the point? This whole thing has been political from the get-go, and people are following politics, not science. Science is theory and data. These media-invented colloquial terms are non-existent pre-pandemic. The CDC has failed to give solid, concrete, non-contradictory information regarding if people are vaccinated and can take off their masks. A lot of people like wearing them. I can't breathe when I wear them. Also, as I stated, California has the highest number of COVID cases anyway. I know it sounds crazy, and yes, I can see where fear-mongering can inspire people to take precaution and compare it to wearing a seatbelt, by putting on a mask and getting vaccinated. Most law enforcement officials feel that it is up to the general public if they do or don't. Plus, it's hard enough for the sheriff to enforce more laws than it is to not. Meaning these politicians pass a new law that they feel is right, and the police have to enforce them. Pick and choose, I guess. This corner or that corner, Trump or Biden, civil war, COVID or no COVID, China or no China, mask or no mask, vaccine or no vaccine, wear a seatbelt or not. Lol. Drink the Kool-Aid or not, watch CNN or not. I pretty much choose individuality, and non-conformity. I mean, the law states buckle up, stop at a red light. Using the same analogy regarding COVID-19 is apples and oranges. If you want to vaccinate your kid, fine, go ahead. If you don't, fine too. Let my voice be heard. This is not the flu, exactly, it might be potentially deadly, like the flu, or not. Find the maker. Screw the left, screw the right, my word and my balls right down the middle, and I don't break them for nobody. Look, I also bagged on female activists somewhat. I love women, and people. I see and hear a lot of these female activists speaking out emotionally about COVID-19, saying people who don't wear masks and get vaccinated are irresponsible. I also don't see a lot of these female activists wearing breathing tubes in the ICU, with a lung infection from COVID, or children. I see males, usually 40 and older, of all races in a hospital bed, with little footage and covered up as possible depending on which corrupt news media footage provides this so-called COVID patient. Point is, what are these activists worried about, that more overweight middle-aged males will get hospitalized from COVID? Or worried that more women and children will get sick from it? Hey, if most women and children are safe, shouldn't we worry about the wife spreading it to the husband, and no the other way around? Doesn't make sense either way, I guess. Or are these female activists mad at other female anti-COVID mandates lol for not wearing a mask and vaccinating their kids? As I stated, females experience different emotions than us males. I'm a male 41, had COVID, now the jab, had antibodies, tested negative, and I'm fine with it. I'm not worried, I'm more worried about the politics and divide and social anxiety about dealing with these yahoos in public than I am about being hospitalized. Put on a breathing tube because I can't breathe. Well, if patients die because they can't get air into the lungs, shouldn't doctors research more about COVID-19 and how it spreads to the lungs to begin with? Googling articles, for the most part, depending on your immune system, COVID spreads to every part of your body, or not, and can or cannot infect your lungs. The information causes patients to not breathe right. That's why they use plasma vaccines for COVID, antibodies, which do work, yet they don't think natural antibodies last 3 months. There's still a lot more to be learned, and we won't know yet until we find out. The future. It's crazy. I watch Fox News channel, and now it seems as if ex-President Donald Trump is completely invigorated. He speaks calmly about his ex-presidency, claims he got the vaccine shot, and urges others to, unless of course they refuse, also claims he had Putin, Kim Jong-un, and also the Middle East under control during his presidency. He claims the hardest part was dealing with the Democrats, Pelosi, ex-President Obama, and then ex-President Biden etc. Who knows? When he was president he was all amped up on riddling, when he interviews with Fox News like he just smoked a joint and chills, recommends the vaccine, it's hard to tell, that's night and day. Why didn't he say anything like that during 2020? Trump also credits and it's factual about getting the vaccine out with Pfizer, Viva Viagra, not undisputed. Are the Democrats overzealous? I have no idea, I'm just a non-affiliate voter. Maybe, like I'll said if he gets another shot in 2024, I'll give him a chance if he drops the Twitter and Apprentice and is more presidential. He claims he made Twitter. Mark Zuckerberg dined at him with the White House once a month and then publicly shamed him. He claims 2020 election was rigged. The 2000 election was also suspect if you research, of course it was Al Gore. Look, no one hated Trump more than me. Here you go, Justin, I'm agreeing with you to an extent, reader of my book. Trump did praise Kobe Bryant, my favorite Laker. No, Donald Trump didn't get along with LeBron, but people who hate basketball, and black people, joke, I didn't write that, you understand. Trump did say Kobe was a great athlete. Okay, so if you hate Trump and you read this, you hate me now, and if you love Trump and read this, you still hate me. Sorry, but I'm honestly, and sound contradictory, but I'm not. Also BLM, while I don't hate black people, the BLM organization was burning and looting businesses during the pandemic, and Antifa. I'm not in favor of either of those, I simply support free speech. I still stand by that the cop in Minnesota, who is convicted of murder, Derek Chauvin, is guilty. Trump does have a small number of minority supporters, which could mean that I guess Donald Duck isn't racist, but maybe an egomaniac, but if he smokes more weed, and plays some rap music, he can still relate to a lot of white males in Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Let's just not segregate like we did in 2020, okay? It's okay to be redneck, or black as a mofo. What does race have to do with it, Tusk? Are you racist? No. Soft and fuzzy people of multicolors, I propose no evil for anyone, and love and hate all people regardless of race. Acknowledge.
Okay, this is One Tusk here. Just a recap of my first 3 chapters. The chapter 1 was sort of an intro. Chapter 2, I talked a little bit about movies. Chapter 3 was a little bit more difficult because of equal rights. And, I'm not here to to bash women or females. And I know how some people get, start, in this previous, I do discuss equal rights. I think it's a tough issue. I know maybe female readers automatically are going to get defensive. I get that. How dare a man, write something about, and mostly speaking to the point of America's cancel culture. It pisses me off. You see people want to change who they are. It's like, dude wearing spandex dressed up like Prince, with pink, and then there's a woman in the weight room trying to get, buff. It's like, that's what I was speaking to, is gender roles. I think men are the dominantly physical species, women are the dominant mental species. That's all I was trying to say, just trying to be real and keep it that way. I know it kind of stirs up some emotions, especially when you single out people, because, we men kind of just have to take it on the chin, and the women, seems like, they get away with more. But if it's equal, then it's equal, in the United States at least. And look at other countries like the Middle East. I mean, women do not have equal rights. Even in some places in the UK or Australia, equal pay, So I think in the United States we have as almost equal as it can be. And who says it can never be equal? But thanks again. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is my recap for the audiobook of 2021 by One Tusk. Another hell of a year. Written by yours truly and read by thankful subordinates, as I call them, certain algorithms. I mean, we live in this world of something called AI. Basically, it was software programmed voiceover, which I love. I thought it worked out great. I liked using the characters that read my book. If you happen to take a fondness to some of them, there was a lady from India, a man from Africa or Syria, I believe. Those are the voiceovers. One guy was like British. I think his name was Eric. They gave different descriptions and different pictures of this great app. It's a voiceover app. You can go on Amazon or Microsoft, whatever. And anyways, just thank you so much. And I expressed a lot of crazy opinions in this book, and I'll admit it. One of them was like the feminism thing, and people were like, "Oh wow, is this guy hating women?" But I was going through at the time a mutual ending of a relationship with a significant other. I was getting over it, so to speak. It did end in like 2019, maybe late 2018. I don't believe it. And then right before that, all the pandemic stuff happened. So I was mostly just expressing how I felt how certain people act and what I've seen and what I've noticed and what I've realized. Another thing, like with the death penalty, I was like thinking about that. I'm like, well, if a grizzly bear attacks you, are you gonna put it in jail for the rest of its life? You're gonna kill it and put it. If it's gonna kill you, that's the way I look at it. Oh, how could you kill another human being? But it's like these serial killer psychos. They don't act like human beings. They don't act like it. They negate their. And if I'm sitting there on the console, like I press a button, it's like if I was a political figure, yeah, they used to do it. Back in the Western days. I mentioned a lot of TV shows. In fact, Deadwood was one on HBO 2001, and yeah, they would hang criminals out in the wide open. And I mean, in California, there is a lot of rampant crime with women and children. It sucks. And then you go to Texas, and there's none. But we discussed a lot of political things in Florida with, DeSantis. What's the asshole's name in Kentucky? I forget. The guy that ate a cheeseburger, and Rand Paul. Donald Trump, Gavin Newsom, Dr. Fauci, Deborah Birx. I mean, they're all fucking assholes. Sorry, but, this is all entertainment. I'm not inciting any riots here. And, no way in shape or form or harm is this going to be directed personally. But on a personal level, it is non-fictitious, but it is an autobiographical type of literature. I don't know. It is 2021, another year, another hell of a year by One Tusk. About myself, the author, this book that you have read, growing up, I've always enjoyed reading and watching movies. My favorite book as a kid growing up, we all know it's called The Outsiders. Hey, Pony Boy, them Mustangs are tough. It's by S.E. Hinton, which she went by the name S.E. Hinton to be a male author, but actually her name is Sue Ellen Hinton. There you go. Feminists who hate me because I talked all this shit on women, she is Sue Ellen Hinton. One of my favorite authors and my favorite war movie, which is Oliver Stone, Platoon. I watched the movie Savages. It was okay. It wasn't as good as Platoon. Apocalypse Now is another great one. Also, Martin Scorsese with Goodfellas and Casino. And The Departed, which was good. The Irishman, well, it was okay. Some of these films are stories considered inspirations for my writing in my book because I love movies. I also like to read the autobiographies, about Jim Morrison. There's a good book by John Densmore. He wrote a really great book about the Doors. There was one about Slash. I believe Slash had a lot, and Nikki Sixx did one, and then also I'm leaving one out. Eminem did one, and then all the rock stars have done, I think, a biography of what they saw and shit like that with all the drugs. But I hope you enjoy my book. It's nothing outrageous, but there's not gonna be lies. I tell the truth. I'm just being honest. I grew up in Southern California. right in between L.A. and San Diego. And this area has grown so much in South Riverside County. It's nuts. A million people out here. Back in the day, there was 150,000 people out here in South Riverside County alone. Now there's 2.3 million, 2 million something in Riverside County, like 4 billion. I mean, I'm sorry, excuse me, 4 million something people in Riverside County alone. More than Orange County now. I think we've superseded them. You know, my hobbies are fishing. I like to fish, saltwater and freshwater school. I was skateboarding and surfing back in the day and snowboarding, but there's a snowboarding picture where I busted my ankle open a long time ago. Somebody knows they were there. They my shin. Sorry, you know. Writing, writing literature, and watching movies, and also doing music with guitar. So, I wrote like the movie Carrie was a horror masterpiece on the Stephen King side. I read The Long Walk. Also, Jaws by Steven Spielberg. You know, so yeah, I mean, I like all that stuff, and that's what inspires me. And John Hughes also with like Uncle Buck, Macaulay Culkin movies. It was sick. The 80s, 90s, and then today it's all this stuff right here that we listen to online and audiobooks. So, you know, this is my name is Nick. I go by One Tusk. I'm gonna say that I just want to say, you know, everybody have fun and be safe. One Tusk out.
Buying them.